Good evening and welcome to our candidate livestream. My name is Aaliyah Hurtado and I am a sophomore at Taos High School, as well as a member of the True Kids 1 Youth Council. Tonight, we present two candidate forums to learn more about the people standing for two elected offices, that of Magistrate Judge and that of Sheriff. First up are the candidates for Magistrate Judge, Day Thornton and Ashley Nespoli Nelson. Candidate Eddie Lucero declined his invitation to participate. All three are registered Democrats. The race for Magistrate Judge will be decided in the June 2nd primary, since there are no Republican candidates to challenge the winners in the November 3rd midterm election. We'll have a short break after this forum before welcoming the sheriff candidates to the stage at 6:30 p.m. Leading this first forum is editor of the Taos News, Jeffrey Plant. And joining me is Maura Campbell, another TK1 Youth Council member, who will time the first forum and then moderate the second. Mr. Plant, I now turn the proceedings over to you.
Thank you, Elia. I'm Jeffrey Plant, editor of the Taos News. Thanks for coming, in-person audience and live stream viewers at home, to our political candidate forums for the June 2nd primary election. Let me lay down the rules of the road here real quick. We will be asking a series of questions following opening statements, for which you get 3 minutes. Responses to questions, you get 60 seconds each. The questions will be addressed to both candidates. This will be followed by closing statements. Before we get to closing statements, if we have time, we'll go to the audience for some questions, which also must be addressed to both candidates. And I'm going to turn it over to Antonio Montes. He's a family friend of candidate Eddie Lucero, who declined to come to the forum tonight, and he's going to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I have a couple of words to say for the Magistrate Judge candidate, Eddie Lucero. The Taos News announced a candidate forum for April 27th, 2026. You will not see my name in the ad. I told publisher Chris Baker I have a prior commitment and cannot attend. My commitment was scheduled before I declared my candidacy, and it is a personal matter. Additionally, I explained to Mr. Baker that I do not believe it is appropriate for judicial candidates to participate in debates. Nationally, it is not common for judicial candidates to debate about how they will conduct themselves if elected as judge, although it is our right to express our First Amendment rights of free speech. I believe judicial candidates should not impose their personal beliefs about court matters, as it will only place our integrity in jeopardy. Judicial candidates should be fair, honest, and impartial. I will always follow the judicial standards for the court, which also govern our actions as candidates. I strongly believe in speaking with the voters. However, answering hypothetical questions about how I will decide cases as a judge is completely inappropriate. I am still in the race, and I'm continuing my efforts to meet with as many Taos residents as possible before the primary elections. Thank you, and I look forward to visiting with you soon. Respectfully, candidate Eddie A. Lucero.
Thank you, Antonio. And we're going to flip a coin to see who goes first here, including opening statements. Looks like you're up, Elia. Oh, Mara?
How about heads is Ashley.
Thank you.
Highly unorthodox.
Tails. So we've got Mr. Thornton. Your opening statement, 3 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to the Taos News and Kit Carson for hosting us tonight. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to Kit Carson and Taos News for hosting us tonight. I figure there are two burning questions on everyone's minds regarding myself. One would be, who the heck is this guy? And two would be, why should I consider voting for him for judge? So briefly, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in 1978 in Santa Fe. My mother still lives there. My brother is a high school teacher in Albuquerque. My connection to the Taos County, this area, its people, began when I was a young child. I had an uncle who lived up here, and we spent every moment that we could up here. And as a kid, I fell in love with this place, this community, this culture. And before I was even in middle school, something about me knew that this was exactly where I wanted to live my life. I've been married to my lovely wife Iris, who's back there, since 1998. We have 2 daughters, Abby, who's 16, and June, who's 12, but she'll kill me if I don't say she's about to turn 13. My wife and I moved here in 2001 after we got out of college, and since then I did any number of jobs in Taos County, primarily in the construction trades and working as an EMT and a ski patroller in the ski valley for about 15 years. I'm now a lawyer, and I'm a trial attorney, which means that I spend a lot of time in the courtroom. I spend a lot of time out of the courtroom agonizing over case law, statutes, and things of that nature. The job is super demanding and very stressful, but it's also really rewarding because I get to work every day to protect people, protect constitutional rights, and try to take care of our community in the process. I've practiced all over northern New Mexico. I've been in front of probably at least a dozen to 20 different judges. I've done everything from simple traffic matters to full homicide trials. I know the rules of evidence. I know the rules of courtroom procedure. I know the case law. I live and breathe this stuff every day. This is what I do. I'm running because I think that our courts work best when judges understand 2 things. One is that the people before them are human beings, not case numbers. And number 2 is when judges understand the law. When judges understand the law, the community is protected, our fundamental constitutional rights are respected, and justice is served. When judges don't understand the law, incorrect decisions get made, real people are affected, constitutional rights are diminished, and taxpayer money is wasted. So I'm running because I think that being a practicing and educated judge is a tremendous benefit to the entire Taos community.
And if we could hold the applause during the forum, please.
Except after I finish my opening, right?
One more round of applause. Ms. Nelson, 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank the Taos News, True Kids 1, everybody here in attendance, and everybody online listening in. Knowing the law and protecting an individual's rights are only the bare requirements for a magistrate judge. Magistrate judges make decisions every day that can affect public safety and access to justice in our community. Over the last several years, my team has had conversations with individuals within our community, and what we're hearing is the same. Everybody is losing trust in the legal process. As court manager, I spent every day for years working alongside the judges. If I wasn't in the courtroom, I was reviewing thousands of magistrate court cases that came before the court for legal accuracy. That experience, paired with the community conversations that I've been having, has led me to develop core themes for this campaign. The first being accountability. Taos County must feel safe. There must be consequences for individuals who are proven to have violated a law. Our community must feel protected. Victims must feel heard when reporting a crime. Law enforcement officers must feel validated when they're doing their difficult work every single day. The next theme is fairness. As a court employee, we approached every case with neutrality and impartiality. The court must always remain a neutral third party to the case. We are not coming from the side of the defense, and we are not coming from the side of the prosecution. We are the neutral third party in order to remain fair and neutral. And then the final theme is applying a whole systems approach to the legal process. During my time as a court employee, it was not uncommon for me to see that individuals who came before the court would get released only to end up back before the court again. There are tools that a magistrate judge can utilize in order to try to stop the cycle of recidivism. Those are the tools that I became familiar with as a court manager working with the magistrate judges. And finally, as court manager, I studied the law. Knowing the laws, the courtroom procedures, and the administrative orders set forth that applied to the magistrate court was a requirement for the position. So pairing that, my knowledge of the law, my experience of being in the inner workings of the court system, and my roots in this community make me ready to go on day one.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. I'm going to turn it over to True Kids 1 Youth Council member Elia Hurtado for our first question, and this will be directed to Mr. Thornton.
Okay. To start off, as a reminder, you have 60 seconds to answer this. So, what is the magistrate judge exactly? What is the purpose of the magistrate court, and what is the role of the magistrate judge?
Okay. Magistrate courts deal with misdemeanors. Magistrate courts deal with misdemeanor criminal offenses and lower-level civil suits. The magistrate court is historically been referred to as the people's court. It is generally the first line of interaction between members of our community and the justice system, whether it's a criminal or a civil matter. Just like any judge, a magistrate's judge's job is to decide cases that come before them based on the law in an impartial manner that isn't directed by personal bias or gut reactions or just feeling like it's the right thing to do. Judges need to follow the law. And so magistrate courts, it's a real opportunity to get it right because it's generally people's first and hopefully only interaction with the criminal justice system. And it's the first line of defense for people that are in our community within the justice system.
Ms. Nelson, your response?
Sure. So, magistrate court sees cases, petty misdemeanors all the way up to felonies. So that could be a traffic ticket that comes before the court, or it could be a felony case for the first 2 hearings of that case. That means, as Mr. Thornton said, that the magistrate court is the people's court. The magistrate court is often the first line that an individual will get to when they're entering into the court system. It is of the utmost importance that the magistrate court judge has values rooted in our community because, again, it's the people's court. Magistrate court must always be rooted in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Next question. Some candidates, and you'll answer this first, Mr. Thornton.
Am I going to have to go first the whole time?
We flipped a coin.
We'll mix it up.
It's fine. It's fine.
We're building part of this airplane in the air. Some candidates bring law degrees, while others offer years of hands-on experience in the community. How does your unique background, be it in law enforcement, or court management, equip you to serve the people's court more effectively than your opponents?
Well, most fundamentally, and as you all can see, I'm leaning into the fact that I am a lawyer. It's not a coincidence that developed countries around our planet have developed specific educational processes to generate experts in the law. And the law school system here in the United States is, of course, an example of that. The law is more than just reading the statute. It is a deep and complex system. The law itself is created by human beings, and it is just as complex, evolving, and intricate as the human beings that created it. Interpreting and effectuating those laws in a fair and impartial manner requires that you have an understanding of the law. And while I absolutely respect Ms. Nelson's experience working within the courts, there is simply no substitute for a formal legal education and experience working in the courtrooms if you're looking to find someone to put on the bench who will, in fact, make decisions according to the law.
Ms. Nelson, 60 seconds.
Sure, thank you. So as court manager, again, I always had to know the law. That's a job requirement. We also had to know court procedures. And then one of the advantages of being a court manager is that I got to see the inner workings of the court system. What we see of the judge on the bench dealing with cases is not the entire picture and not the entire role that a judge fills. There's a lot of behind the scenes that people actually aren't aware of. The judge can participate in committees within the judiciary. They can participate in meetings within the community. The judge can also participate in treatment courts. So the role is actually very complex. And these are things that only somebody who has knowledge of that inner working system would have the experience of.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Next question, and you will be answering first.
Sure.
What do you think would be your greatest strength as a judge, and what might be your greatest weakness?
So again, being the court manager and having the knowledge of the inner workings of the court system is absolutely my biggest strength. I am ready to go on day one, knowing the law, knowing the court procedures, knowing the tools that a magistrate judge has, and having those connections already established within our community. As the court manager, I did have to develop relationships with many of the service providers that the court is connected with. Furthermore, there are treatment courts within the court system, and that's something that I'm very interested in and did get to have experience with on a surface level as the court manager.
Please go over your greatest weakness as well.
Sure. So I think for me, I have a lot of heart. And so I think that I get really, one of the challenges of being a magistrate judge, there's a time limit for how long cases can be in the court system. It's only 6 months. So the challenge really would be, how do we just give these cases the time that they deserve while still being within the law?
Thank you very much, Ms. Nelson. And Mr. Thornton, your greatest weakness as well as your greatest strength.
Well, I'll start with what I guess I would forecast would be my greatest weakness, which I think is probably true for anyone that's running for a judge, which is most people that would consider doing something like this obviously care about people and care about their community. To that level, I'm a very empathetic person. It's part of what I think makes me good at what I do. It's part of what makes me a compassionate human being. Within the courts, obviously, judges are going to be pulled emotionally. And so I think my greatest weakness would be that human temptation to get pulled emotionally, empathetically, and to make sure that you're doubling down, rising up, not letting those things affect your decisions, but instead focusing on merits of the case and the law before you. As far as my greatest strength goes, again, you guys, I'm going to be a bit of a broken record tonight perhaps, but my greatest strength is that I've been living and breathing this stuff for the last 10 years. My greatest strength is that I've practiced in front of countless judges who have countless different ways of doing things, and I've been able to observe and learn from them. And looks like that's my time. Thank you, Mark.
You can finish your thought.
No, that's just 5 seconds.
That's fine.
So here's your next question. We'll go to, let's start with Jay. Have you studied the New Mexico Code of Judicial Conduct, and what are your main takeaways from the code?
I have studied the Code of Judicial Conduct ad nauseum from the time that I was even contemplating becoming a candidate. Well, even before that, because it does come up in my world. But particularly since becoming a candidate, I studied that thing like crazy because I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything according to the law as a candidate. The Code of Judicial Conduct is basically our New Mexico Supreme Court codifying what we all would expect of judges. And the biggest meatball in there is that judges are expected to act in a way that is in line with the integrity of the court, and judges are expected to remain impartial throughout the entire process. A lot of the focus of the Code of Judicial Conduct is on avoiding impropriety itself, but the code is even more stringent. It demands that we avoid the appearance of impropriety. And so candidates and judges alike are required to embrace that duty and conduct themselves in a manner that is consistent with being on the bench, whether you're there yet or not. But the code and all is a very important thing for New Mexico, because obviously people need to have trust in the courts, and the Code of Judicial Conduct essentially codifies a system of behavior that will facilitate the public having trust in the courts.
Thank you. Ashley, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. I have read the Judicial Code of Ethics. That was actually one of the first pieces of advice I was given when I was letting people know that I was running for this position. And quite frankly, as a court employee, those ethics are things that we had to abide by just every single day. So as the court manager, we had very similar ethics that we had to carry on while we were working throughout the day. Really, the transition from a court employee to a magistrate judge is, there's really no difference in how we have to conduct ourselves. We have to be held to a higher standard as a judicial employee, and that is something that was a simple transition for me as a judicial candidate.
And Ms. Nelson, you'll be answering first for this one.
Sure.
The days when every litigant dressed up for court and took pains to address the judge as Your Honor are gone. What strategies will you use to foster respect and keep decorum in your courtroom?
I love this question. This is actually something that, I put a post on my social media months ago, and I think all it is probably just maybe information, making sure that we're getting information out to people. It's probably just a matter of people not knowing that this is how you dress when you go to court. This is how you have to conduct yourself when you're going to court. And so I did make a post, and I outlined just what to expect when you're going to court, how to dress, just basic rules of courtroom decorum. And I think once people learn all of these things, then it's an easy transition to making sure that we're always respectful in the courtroom.
And Mr. Thornton?
So I think the question is sort of what would I do to maintain dignity and respect in the court, something like that.
If you'd like me to repeat it, I can.
That'd be good, yeah.
Okay. So, the days when every litigant dressed up for court and took pains to address judges as Your Honor are gone. So what strategies will you use to foster respect and keep decorum in your courtroom if elected?
So to start with, I think it's really important for everyone to recognize that a lot of people don't have the luxury of dressing up for court. A lot of people get arrested or get a summons to appear in court, and they may show up in the best outfit they've got, but that might not be the same as what you might judge as the best outfit to wear to court. But a lot of people do the best they can, and they show up as best they can. So first, I think, is a recognition that every human being that comes before the court is unique. Their circumstances are unique, and they should be judged by what's in their heads and their hearts as opposed to what they're wearing. Second, I think maintaining trust in the courts and maintaining respect in the courts is a two-way street. And so it's not just about the people in the court showing the judge respect. It goes the other way as well. It's about the judge showing everyone who comes into the court that same measure of respect.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. And let's start with Ashley again, this one. How familiar are you with pre-trial detention rules? What determines whether a defendant is held without bond or released pending trial?
Sure. So I'm very familiar with this. During my time as court manager and even in court employee, this would come up frequently. That's actually something that's initiated by the district attorney's office. So let's say there's a felony case that comes before the court. There has to be a first appearance scheduled, and it's up to the district attorney to file the proper paperwork in the court to signal that they're requesting pretrial detention. It's at that time that the magistrate court actually loses jurisdiction of the case, and it will get bound over to the district court.
Thank you. And Mr. Thornton, I'm guessing you are somewhat familiar with pretrial detention rules, what determines whether a defendant is held without bond or released pending trial?
Well, the most critical thing to realize here is that it's not determined by the judge's gut feelings or whether the judge likes a person that comes in or doesn't like a person or whatever. The New Mexico Supreme Court has laid out a very specific, let's call it a recipe for pretrial detention hearings. And when those decisions are made, a judge is obligated to make those decisions in line with the factors that the New Mexico Supreme Court has mandated that a judge considers. The circumstances of the offense at hand is just one of those. Criminal history, connections to the community, risks to the community. There are a bunch of factors that a judge is required to consider. As Ms. Nelson said, in general, those decisions are made upstairs in the district court as opposed to downstairs in the magistrate court. But decisions about conditions of release for folks who are within the magistrate court's jurisdiction generally follow the same sort of recipe that's been given to us by the New Mexico Supreme Court. So it hopefully takes out discretion from the judge, and we just apply the law.
Thank you. And let's dig in a little deeper here about conditions of release. What factors will guide your judgment when setting conditions of release for defendants, and how will you balance justice with community well-being?
So again, it's a bit of a similar answer. This is an area where it's, pretrial release, conditions of release are pretty hot button issues, especially with people painting narratives of a system of catch and release and recidivism, et cetera. Nonetheless, again, the New Mexico Supreme Court has given judges a very specific list of factors that you're to consider when imposing conditions of release. A judge's duty is to impose the most reasonable conditions of release that will ensure the safety of the community and ensure that someone shows up to court when they're required to. And because of our constitutional rights, the Supreme Court mandates that we set the least restrictive conditions of release that will reasonably ensure the safety of the community. And so the opposing parties come before you, the district attorney will ask for what they want, defense attorney will advocate for what they want. Your job is to determine those conditions that will protect the community.
And Ms. Nelson, what factors will guide your judgment when setting conditions of release?
So just to get more specific, when a judge is setting those conditions of release, there are several specific factors that can come into play. Determining whether an individual is at a flight risk is something that they consider. Were there firearms involved in the alleged case? What's the nature of the crime? If that individual has any pending cases in the court or any court, and then if they have any prior offenses, basically their history. So that's going to determine whether, again, as Mr. Thornton said, what's the least restrictive conditions that can be set. Further explaining how I would also view that is basically incorporating what I said when I referred to the whole systems approach. So that could look like a judge ordering mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, referral to treatment courts. There's a lot of things that a judge can do in those conditions of release to ensure that the defendant's needs are being met and the community is still being kept safe.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. And just another related question. As you mentioned, the Taos County, the court system here, has two diversion programs, drug court and family violence court. And magistrate judges have the ability to refer defendants to these programs. What criteria will you use when deciding whether to refer a defendant to drug court or family violence court? And we'll start with you, Ms. Nelson.
So my understanding is actually there was a third that was up and running. That's the mental health treatment court. I know that Judge Blankenhorn was dabbling in that. I don't know where it's at the moment. I see Hannah shaking her head. I don't know if that means it wasn't going on. Okay, so anyways, basically, it's a really important thing to consider. If somebody comes before the court and they're a repeat offender and the judge feels that there are, again, these tools that they can use to help this defendant maybe prevent the repeating cycle of coming before the court, then that's absolutely something that the judge would consider. when doing those referrals, and then having conversations with the judges who are running those treatment courts. There's a lot of behind the scenes talking to the employees who run the treatment courts, talking to the magistrate judges who are running the treatment courts, and trying to determine if those criteria are all met with that particular defendant.
Thank you. Mr. Thornton, what criteria will you use when deciding whether to refer a defendant to drug court or family violence court?
Well, the first criteria that I think is the most important is someone's potential for rehabilitation. If you've got someone before you that has made zero effort to change their lives, shows zero commitment to positive change, then that's probably not your person. But in general, I think, the overwhelming majority of people that get involved in the criminal justice system have potential for rehabilitation. And where their needs are specific to, substance abuse issues related to the drug court, or their needs are related to systematic family problems, domestic dysfunction for the domestic violence court, I feel that anyone who shows any potential for rehabilitation is a great candidate for those, because they are an incredible resource for our community. I've seen it firsthand with my clients who have participated in those courts. It's been transformative for them, their families, and the community as a whole.
Thornton, Aaliyah.
Okay. Mr. Thornton, we'll start off with you. And under what circumstances might a magistrate judge dismiss a civil case with or without prejudice?
So if we're in the world of civil cases, you might, generally courts don't do things unless one of the parties asks them to. And so whether there's civil or criminal, if there's some egregious violation or a civil complaint doesn't state a actual cause of action, in general, those issues are raised to the court by the parties before the court. And so the normal circumstance where a judge would dismiss a case, say with prejudice, would be if one of the parties came to the judge, asked the judge to do that, explained why, and the judge agreed. In the civil world, that's pretty simple. It's generally cases that do not have any meritorious legal claim to them. For example, someone sues someone over something that happened, but that person didn't suffer any damages. That's not a lawsuit if there are no damages. So basically, if they're meritless cases, the parties bring that to the court's attention, and the court does what it's required to do.
Very much. Ms. Nelson, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. I got it. So just building off of what Mr. Thornton said is the reasons why civil cases typically may be dismissed with or without prejudice in the magistrate court, I would say goes back to the parties generally coming to an agreement. That's a very common thing that we see. The parties will come to court, and usually just the judge allowing them to talk to each other, that can be enough for them to decide that they've come to a stipulated agreement or a dismissal. There are times when there's no jurisdiction in the magistrate court, so that would be an instance of automatic dismissal from the magistrate judge.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. And here's a related question. Magistrate judges determine whether there's sufficient evidence to send a felony case to district court. But under what circumstances might a magistrate judge dismiss a criminal case with prejudice?
Me first? So, a dismissal of a magistrate criminal case is what you're asking?
Case.
A felony case. So I would say that would go back to determining probable cause, and that's the role of the magistrate judge for that second hearing of a preliminary, for a felony case. It's called a preliminary examination. And probable cause is the legal standard under the Fourth Amendment where law enforcement must have sufficient evidence to believe that a crime had been committed. So that's more than a suspicion, but less than absolute certainty. So if probable cause is not able to be determined in that preliminary examination, it is possible that a magistrate judge could change the charge to be a misdemeanor charge. There could be a dismissal depending on the situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
You're welcome.
Mr. Thornton, do you need me to repeat the question?
I mean, I think I got the gist of basically when would cases get dismissed with prejudice?
A felony.
Yeah, okay, so as Ms. Nelson just said, magistrate court jurisdiction with felonies is a little bit nuanced because technically every single crime, whether it's a reckless driving all the way up to a homicide, even felonies start their life in general in the magistrate court. And as Ms. Nelson just alluded to, there's generally a hearing called a preliminary examination. The magistrate judge has to decide, is there probable cause that a felony was committed and this person committed it? So that's a very low bar. Probable cause is a very low bar. Magistrate courts tend to bind over those cases up to the district court when they find probable cause because, again, it's a very low bar. Magistrate courts don't technically have the authority to dismiss a felony. And so if I have a client who has a felony charge that I think is complete BS, I can't even ask the magistrate judge to dismiss it with prejudice because they don't have the jurisdiction to do that. That's the district court that has the jurisdiction to actually dismiss a felony with prejudice. Magistrate court's authority over felonies is limited to that preliminary examination process.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. And I'm going to remind the audience that we're going to be taking a few questions near the end of this forum. So if you want to think of some questions to ask the candidates, we'll ask you to come up here in approximately 25 minutes. Aaliyah?
Okay, Ms. Nelson, you'll be answering first. How long have you lived in Taos County, and how strong are your connections to our community? Do you belong to any volunteer organizations, such as helping with food pantries or Rotary Club, etc.?
Sure. So I've lived here for just under 20 years. I have strong, deep roots in our community. I have 3 children whose families have all been born and raised here. My daughter her family first came to northern New Mexico in 1598, I was told. So she's got strong roots, and I take that very seriously. That means a lot. The culture of Taos County, the cultural traditions, those are things that I really value and I have deep connections with. I do sit on the board of my children's school, so I volunteer in that way. It's a parent advisory board for the school, and that's a way that I've been able to get connected with their school and just make sure I'm in the know for all the goings on for their school.
Much. Mr. Thornton, what does your connection with the community look like?
Well, as I started off with, so I was born in Santa Fe, native New Mexican, fiercely proud of being a New Mexican. I've carried a New Mexico flag around with me anywhere I've ever traveled my whole life. I've been in Taos County over half my life. My wife and I moved here in 2001. And as I mentioned, I've worked throughout this community with folks of all stripes. I've gotten to know and love them. And I have tremendous gratitude to this community for the blessing that it is to live here and raise my family here. So yeah, my loyalty to this place is fierce. And as I said, there's something weird about me that when I was a little kid, I knew this was where I wanted to live my life, raise a family, and that commitment holds true today. This is where I want to be. It's where I want to raise my kids, and I'm hoping this is the kind of place that someday my kids might consider living and raising their own families here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jeff?
Let's start with Day. So in a close-knit community like Taos County, what steps will you take to ensure fairness when someone you know appears before you in court, or when a case involves something you have personal experience with or knowledge of in the community?
So that's an easy one. I'll get out of the case. The Code of Judicial Conduct that we were discussing before requires a judge to recuse themselves from a case where there is either some connection that actually creates an impartiality or an impropriety, but where there's even an appearance of impropriety to the community and to the defendant or the person involved in a civil suit. And so I will absolutely recuse myself from any case where a personal relationship creates, in my mind, that appearance of impropriety to members of the community or the litigants before me. Yeah.
Thank you. Ashley, what will you do to deal with those scenarios that are bound to come up when someone you know is in your courtroom as a defendant?
Sure. So it's actually something I experienced as the court manager. Anytime there was a case before the court and I knew a party or I knew anything about the case, specifically with regards to individuals who were involved in the case, anything like that, I was not allowed to touch the case, look at the case, talk about the case, nothing. It's an easy transition coming from that to the magistrate judge seat because, again, as the judge, if you see a case where you know the parties, it's just a very easy, you sign the recusal and that's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thornton, starting with you, if elected, what will you do in terms of community outreach, whether it's to educate about the court or enhance the reputation of Taos County Magistrate Court? Are there any specific ways you intend to engage with youth? For example, visiting schools or engaging with youth sports, things of that nature.
Good question. So obviously a judge's official role is limited to the courtroom and deciding cases. However, obviously a judge commands some authority within the community to try to support and strengthen programs that are to the benefit of the community. And obviously as a judge, I'll work in whatever capacity I might have to use whatever influence I might have to try to deliver our community more programs that I think will hopefully cut off the cycles that plague Taos County before someone ends up sitting at the defendant's table in the court. And that would include things like substance use treatment, family violence treatment, and then just in big picture in general, you know, I coached my kids' soccer team. I'm a youth mentor right now for the Bridges Project. Our kids need things to do. Our kids need inspiration, and I would focus my efforts on helping the youth.
Much. Ms. Nelson?
Would you mind repeating the question, please?
Yes, of course. So if elected, what will we do in terms of community outreach, whether it's to educate about the court or enhance the reputation of Taos County Magistrate? Any specific ways that you want to engage with the youth as well?
Okay, great. I love that question, and it's actually something I've considered over the last several months because I do feel like that there needs to be more community information. So that may look like the Administrative Office of the Courts putting on more informational events where we can teach people without giving legal advice, of course, but just teach people about what goes on with court processes, the legal processes, making connections within the community. So if somebody is looking for legal advice, where to go for that. I think involving kids in that is critical. Again, being able to reach youth at a younger age and hopefully stop the cycle and prevent people from ending up before the courts is, of course, of the utmost importance and would be a critical focus. I think most of that would be put on by the Administrative Office of the Courts because they already do engage in a lot of that programming, but I would be happy to be involved with that through them.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. We'll start with you with this next question, somewhat related. How will you accommodate pro se litigants with no legal expertise in your courtroom? It's a common situation in New Mexico courts and maybe especially the magistrate court. What can the court do to better ensure litigants representing themselves have equal access to the magistrate court when it comes to understanding the law, proper formulation of filings, motions, and other documents?
Absolutely, that's a great question, and it does tie hand in hand with the previous question. So it's very common for individuals who come before the court for civil matters to be pro se, which means to not have any kind of legal representation. There are resources within our community. We do have legal aid. We do have a help desk that exists at the court. I have seen recently as well that the Administrative Office of the Court put on a traveling help desk. So they went to different locations within the county and were providing between this time and this time you can come and get legal advice and ask any questions that you may have. It's very common for pro se litigants to come before the court, and my experience and what I've seen is the judge, again, not moderating a case, but being available and listening to both sides of the party and getting down to, again, just community values is usually enough to allow people to resolve the case.
Mr. Thornton, how will you accommodate defendants, anyone in your court who just doesn't have representation in civil matters?
So on the civil side, of course, at the magistrate level, it's actually really common for the opposing parties to go forward pro se. Generally these are folks that are fighting over a few $1,000, fairly simple matters that don't warrant hiring an attorney for them. And so in that situation, obviously the court's job is to be the best referee that you can and make sure that those the fundamental rights that should be upheld in the court are upheld in those types of situations, regardless of the fact that you don't have lawyers. In a criminal context, it's a bit more of it's a bigger meatball. In a criminal context, you've got a defendant sitting there who is facing possible criminal sanctions for whatever conduct brought them into court. A lot of criminal defendants do wish to go forward pro se. A judge's job in that situation is to make sure that they advise that person about the potential consequences and risks of doing that, give them the resources they need to make the best decision they can make, and ultimately to respect that decision and try to make sure that their rights are upheld either way.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. And for this next question, you will start. Magistrate judges often handle 30 to 50 cases per day. Are you capable of handling this caseload? And how will you ensure cases keep moving through the court efficiently?
So I am capable of handling that caseload because it's very similar to what I've been juggling as a lawyer for years now, effectively and efficiently. One of the skills that you learn is at any given time I might have, say, around 40 cases that I'm dealing with. And one thing you learn to get good at as a lawyer is maintaining somehow that you're juggling all those pieces in the air, but you got to know when you need to pull this one out and do something about it, pull that one out and do something about it. Judges face a similar onslaught of quick changes in their days, and personally I think I'm pretty well suited to deal with that because for whatever reason my ADHD brain, I've got a lot of energy and I like bouncing from thing to thing. I don't like doing one thing all day every day for months on end, and so I've got the experience and the energy to deal with bouncing through 40 cases in a day if I need to.
Very much. Ms. Nelson, how will you ensure cases keep moving through the court efficiently?
So as the court clerk in the courtroom with the judge, we're right alongside the judge processing all of those cases, 30 to 40 cases a day at times. That's something that I have experience with. I've seen firsthand how to handle it. And furthermore, I know the computer system that the court uses like the back of my hand. There are ways and tricks within the computer system to properly manage the case flow, to make sure that cases don't fall between the cracks, to make sure that we're meeting the time requirements. There's settings in the computer system that can alert you if something's coming up on a time restriction. So using my knowledge as first the court clerk, then the court supervisor, and then the court manager, I'm perfectly poised and ready to go on day one.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. This is our last newspaper question, so if anybody's got a question they would like to ask, come on up here. I'm going to ask one more question. Listen to Sandy. And for the last question from True Kids 1 and the Taos News, direct this to Ashley first. What will you do to prevent robitis? Magistrate Court isn't a reality show. Judges make decisions that affect real people and often in trying circumstances, no pun intended. Judicial office can swell egos. How will you prevent the power of the robe from going to your head?
I love this question. So, to me, the transition from court manager to magistrate judge is not only a common one across our state, but it's also something that I feel very comfortable in. I worked side by side with judges for many years, not just in our Taos County Magistrate Court, but judges all throughout the state, northern New Mexico, Albuquerque, the district court judges as well. We worked hand in hand. And really the truth is in public service, there's no room for ego. Being a public servant is very different than working in the private sector. And I mean, that's what it is. There's no room for ego.
Mr. Thornton, how will you avoid the pitfalls of robitis?
Robitis. Robitis is something I feel I've actually seen firsthand. I think that the critical factor there is, again, dropping back to what I said earlier about judges need to recognize that the people that come before them are human beings, not case numbers. And I think that if a judge can anchor themselves in that humanity-based perspective, I think that that's what keeps your ego in check, because every single person that comes before your door is unique. Everyone deserves to be heard. And if a judge is capable of keeping the respect and ears open to everyone that comes in before them, it doesn't get boring. It doesn't get repetitive, because every single case is unique, and that's what I think allows judges to avoid the pitfalls of robitis or getting power associated with the robe. I think is just maintaining that human perspective.
Thank you for those answers. And we'll go to the audience now, and please remember to address your question equally to each candidate, so to both candidates, rather. And if you'd state your name before you ask your question. We'll go with this gentleman right here.
My name is Larry Mapes, and this question is for both of you. Earlier in the forum, you talked about mental health court. It's my understanding, and Ernie could probably confirm this, that right now we don't have one. Would one of you be able to take that on? And I know it's a big ask.
So, does it matter who answers first? I'll answer first.
Let's go with you, Ms. Nelson.
So it's actually something that I feel so passionately about. I think that the mental health situation in Taos County is something that needs to be addressed. And we see it firsthand in the court. Mental health court, treatment court is a wonderful idea. I know that Judge Blankenhorn had dabbled in it. I have no idea what the state of it is now. It sounds like it's not going on, but it's something that I feel very strongly about. I think it could be very helpful. And I think that not only would it be helpful for the court processes for these individuals who are experiencing these mental health crises or incidents, but it would also help the community in general. We're only as good as our weakest members of our community. So being able to lift these individuals up and get them the resources that they need is a great way to make sure that this community is safer, happier, and healthier.
Mr. Thornton.
Well, to start with, I'd say, again, in my experience dealing with hundreds of cases here in Taos County, mental health issues are at the heart of an overwhelming majority of what we face here in our community. And that could manifest itself as substance abuse problems, domestic violence problems, any number of things. And so I think that anything our community can do to proactively address mental health issues for our community, most importantly for our youth, is a no-brainer. And I can't tell you sitting here right now today exactly what opportunities I would have and how much control I would have over setting up a mental health court. But given my experience with the drug court and the family violence court and the miracle that has been for people that I know personally, I would do everything I could to jump in and get my feet wet if I could make something like that happen for us.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Next question, and please state your name.
Hi, Alexi Lathrop here. I have two questions for you. First, if there was ever a situation where both magistrate judges were involved, either related or just too close to the trial, what would happen? The second is, would you be willing to maybe conduct some mock trials for the youth and engage them, going back to one of the previous questions, to make sure that they kind of understand the process a little more and they're a little more engaged?
Absolutely. Those are great questions.
And let's start with Mr. Thornton this time.
Sorry.
So it's a great question, and obviously you could foresee some weird circumstances coming up where both magistrate judges here in Taos County had some personal relationship or something that made it so neither of them should serve on the case. Obviously the right answer is for them to recuse themselves in line with that code of judicial conduct. That's the right answer. The unfortunate result for the people of our county is that those cases then wind up getting decided by a magistrate judge from an adjacent county. And you know, those judges obviously are elected officials. They do their job as well as they can, but it's never a great result for the people of Taos County when Taos County issues are decided by a judge that Taos County did not elect. And so obviously it's something to try to avoid those kinds of conflicts, but that's kind of the answer about what happens in that lane if both judges here had some sort of an issue. As far as the mock trial piece goes, you read my mind. I've been chicken scratching about ideas that I would have for our community, and getting youth involved in just understanding the justice system, things like mock trials, hopefully support some kids in this neighborhood and in our community to get more interested in the law, get some more local attorneys, because northern New Mexico is what judges call a judicial desert. There are very few lawyers here to represent people. We need more of it, and I think outreach to youth could be a good way to get that for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. And Ms. Nelson, we're giving you a minute and 30 seconds to answer this. That's what Mr. Thornton received. Do you need Alexi to repeat the question?
Please, if you don't mind.
If there's ever a situation where both magistrate judges are related to the situation, and how will you work through that? And otherwise, will you support mock trials for the youth in town to understand the justice system a little further and get them involved?
Okay, great. Yeah, it is a great question. So to answer your first question, it's a very simple process. When both judges have to recuse from a case, it does get sent over to an adjacent county. The 8th Judicial District is Taos County, Colfax County, Union County, and I've worked with all of those judges over there. They're great. Case flow is efficient, and it's really pretty seamless when that happens. I would also say to your second question, I believe the district attorney's office did put on a mock trial recently with the magistrate court. I don't know the specifics about that, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our youth. It's a great learning experience, and just to get the community involved in the judicial process in general is fantastic. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question is from the Gabe. And please remember to state your name and address the question equally to both candidates.
Okay, mine is for both of you. I was a police officer for 25 years, and I remember bringing in the defendants, and they went through court, and within a month, I arrested them again. We need mental health in this community that works. What's your endeavors with something like that? Do you have anything that you can tell the people in this room what you think might work better than it is now? Because I love the community, but the thing is, I see too much of these people coming back and doing the same crap.
And people are struggling. Let's start with you, Ms. Nelson.
Yeah, and that's something that I touched on a little bit in my opening statement. And as a court employee, I saw the same thing. And it is something that I believe needs to be addressed. whether that's through accountability, whether that's through the whole systems approach that I referred to. So we're ordering mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, referrals to the treatment courts, something to break the cycle. These are members of our community that keep coming before the court, and so their families are in our community. It's affecting the victims are in our community. These are issues that are really important. And again, as I outlined, these are all at the forefront of this campaign. And I believe that it's something that absolutely will be addressed on day one, because knowing that the inner workings of the court system, the tools that a magistrate judge can use to make sure that we're efforting towards reducing recidivism, it's at the forefront of my campaign.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Mr. Thornton, would you like Gabe to repeat his question? You get the gist.
I think I got the gist, Mr. Medina. So, we talked about mental health a minute ago, and I really do believe that it's a foundation of almost all the problems that we're facing here in Taos County and deserves all of our attention. I unfortunately have experience with this, where I have clients who come in and we may get they may get a sentence on one case, and then while they're on probation for that, they pick up another case, and it breaks my heart because we all have a goal here of rehabilitation, and hopefully people are going to learn their lesson, and unfortunately all too often that's not how it works out. I think the ways that a judge can address that as best a judge can in their lane is to tailor conditions of release to address mental issues when they're apparent to you, to tailor a sentence that you might give to address mental health issues when those issues are apparent to you. And then finally, to do whatever you can to really support these programs that we have going in our community to hopefully get towards some of these problems before someone's actually sitting in your courtroom.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. And our next question, please state your name and address your question equally to both candidates.
My name is Bernard. I'm not going to give you my last name because it'll give away the question. History in Taos, my family has been here for 300 years. There was a law school that was created here in Taos. And that same individual represented 9 individuals that were ultimately hanged on Martyrs Lane. Do you happen to know the name of that person?
I do not, sir.
Is the last name Romero? Then no.
And the answer is?
Antonio Jose Martinez.
Oh.
All right. Bit of trivia in the forum. Our next question. Please state your name and address your question to both candidates equally.
Right. Hi, my name is Link Summers. I've lived here for 43 years, I think now. I want to go forward from 2026 a little bit. First of all, I'm going to assume both of you are fluent in Spanish and that you're familiar with the culture here. But let me say this, 2026, every estimate I've seen in the next 3 years, we're going to see profound changes. If I walked into your courtroom today, I wouldn't go in there without going to ChatGPT or to Claude or somebody else and researching the case fully. What are the strong points of my case? What are the weak points? What are the arguments I'm going to hear? I presume the other party within the next 3 years will do the same thing. So now you're going to have a fully researched case according to AI for someone who comes in. Now I'm talking about someone who's aware of this, has decided that this is something that they can use. It's a useful tool. And so both sides come in prepared with AI arguments, which presumably have searched the entire universe, know the procedures of your court, know the way you've ruled, and with these particular cases. And they're going to appear in front of you. That's one question, is how do you have equal parties with AI presenting to you and perhaps using their laptop while the proceedings are going on to determine their strategy and what their answers should be based on the facts that they have. The second is now you have a person who doesn't have a computer, doesn't have a cell phone,
who's sitting on one or the other tables in front of you, and they're just ordinary people that we find in Taos who are not tech-oriented, and the party on the other side is. How do you deal with the inequality that's coming to all of us from AI, which is moving faster than any of us think? And then there will be more exotic cases. To give you an example, let's say that I don't like surveillance pricing and Walmart is engaged in it. So they read my license plate, they know how much money I have in my bank account, I walk in, they know what I shopped for 2 weeks ago, and they change the price because they know how much money I make or don't make. And they use that, so their lawyers are there, I'm suing them, and they're using all the tools and resources they have available to them. I just want, there's no right answer to this, and I know that, but what are you thinking about with regard to those? How would you handle those kinds of cases with the technology that we're facing to make sure that everybody has equal protection under the law, due process, and that we can level the playing field so that everybody feels like they got a fair shake?
Such an interesting question, Mr. Summers. Thank you. Let's start with, let's see, was it Mr. Thornton or Mr. You're up against the mic there, Ms. Nelson. We'll
Sure.
start with you. What will you do when AI inequality comes to your courtroom?
Yeah, and the AI machine is running, and there's no stopping it now. But what I would say is what I would imagine, which is what always happens when eventually the legal system or the laws catch up with technology, is there eventually I would imagine there will probably be rules and laws governing the use of AI in the judicial system. We know anybody who's had any experience whatsoever with AI knows that it's not accurate. I also read an article recently about the ethical rules that are implemented within AI, so making sure they basically have been putting in systems in place where AI answers aren't violating any kind of predetermined ethical standards. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but again, I would imagine that going forward, I would hope that there would be some rules and regulations surrounding AI and its use in the legal system.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Mr. Thornton, what will you do about AI inequality in your courtroom, or AI in general?
All right. Well, first, I can't help it. I do have to mention that I don't speak Spanish perfectly, pero hablo bastante bien para hablar con la gente y hacer lo que tengo que hacer si soy un juez.
Okay, you can apply for that.
Espera, yo puedo hablar español también.
Okay, so nosotros dos, hija. All right. So I agree. I mean, the changes that are happening right now, faster than any of us can even try to catch our breath, are insane in AI. What I'll tell you briefly is I'm already seeing this. I see motions occasionally that are filed by prosecutors, and by the time you get to paragraph 2, it is so obvious that this thing was written by LexisNexis AI or ChatGPT or whatever. It's just so obvious. As Ms. Nelson said, AI makes mistakes all the time, but even when it doesn't, it's a problem because we want real parties to be in front of the court arguing their cases. We don't want it to be a battle of who has the most powerful server off in Texas somewhere. I think that the best defense for that is a couple things. One, our Supreme Court is already toying with requiring people to notify the court when they use AI to construct arguments. The most powerful tool I think a judge can use to deal with that problem is asking questions. Ask questions of the people before you. Make sure they actually understand what's on that piece of paper. They're not just barfing out whatever ChatGPT told them to say.
Mr. Thornton, we'll go to closing statements now. And you go first, Ms. Nelson. 3 minutes for a closing statement.
Sure. So thank you again to everybody for being here, for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I just wanted to finalize by saying a big thank you to Judge Ortega, who's actually in attendance this evening, for 20 years. 20 years of dedicated service as Taos County Magistrate Judge. That's incredible. Despite not having a law degree, he has shown his dedication to justice and he's leaving behind a lasting legacy in Taos County. I'm honored to have worked alongside him for so many years. Magistrate Court is the people's court. So putting together the values that I have that are rooted in our community, the experience of all of the inner workings of the court system, and my knowledge of the law and the courtroom procedures make me ready to go on day one. So remember to vote. Nelson for Judge, June 2nd. Any additional information about me can be found at nelsonfortaos.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Mr. Thornton, closing statement, 3 minutes.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone for just being here. Obviously, it's humbling to have people encouraging me to run for this office. It's humbling to have the opportunity to come speak to all of you, and I appreciate everyone being here and the questions we've been asked, and so thank you all so much. So obviously, my shtick is pretty simple. I'm born in New Mexico. I love this state. My dedication to it has been running through my veins my entire life. Taos County in particular, as I said, cheesy as though it may sound, I knew I wanted to live my life, raise my family, and die in Taos County before I was even in middle school, and here I am. I'm here to serve this community, and I think our community benefits tremendously from having a lawyer on the bench. It matters not just for the outcomes of particular cases, but in the big picture, it matters tremendously for the constitutional rights that we all cherish. Magistrate Court is the people's court. It's the front line. It's where those constitutional rights live and die. And if they die for anyone, they die for everyone. And so as a judge, I will make sure that all of our constitutional rights are upheld constantly in that people's court. So I've got a commitment to this community that courses through my veins. I've got the education and experience to be a good judge for this community. I'm humbled by the people who encouraged me to run for this, and it would be a tremendous, tremendous honor that I would serve with tremendous gratitude if I had the opportunity to step into this role for the people of Taos County. I'm open for questions. You can contact us. There's some flyers at the back that have our direct email for my campaign committee. We've got a Facebook page. I'm a total caveman. I don't do social media, but thanks to some help from an amazing friend, I've finally crawled out of the cave. I've got a great Facebook page. If you want more information, please go check that out. As I hope you all can see, my heart is true. My passion is real. My dedication to this community is real, and I hope that I can earn your votes, and I'd be honored if I could do so. Early voting starts May 5th. In-person voting is on June 2nd. Please show up, and if you'd consider me, I'd be honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both candidates for Taos County Magistrate Judge, Dave Thornton and Ashley Nelson. Early voting does start May 5. The Taos News Voters Guide comes out May 7. Expanded early voting starts May 16. And the primary is on June 2nd, which, as Aaliyah mentioned, will decide virtually all the races in Taos County, with the exception, I believe, of the county assessor's race. I'm Jeffrey Plant, editor of the Taos News.
I'm Amelia Hurtado, sophomore at Taos High School. Thank you for joining us this evening for the Taos County Magistrate Judge Forum.
Good evening and welcome to our second candidate live stream. My name is Mara Campbell and I'm a junior at Taos High School and the vice president of the True Kids 1 Youth Council. Tonight is our second candidate forum featuring our 3 candidates for sheriff. Career law enforcement officer Celadon Gallegos, Red River Marshal Jason Rael, and incumbent Steve Miera, who is seeking a second term as sheriff. The race for sheriff, like the race for magistrate judge, will essentially be decided in the June 2nd primary, since there are no Republican candidates to challenge the winners in the November 3rd midterm election. Leading tonight's forum is the editor of the Taos News, Jeffrey Plant, and joining me is Aaliyah Hurtado, another TK1 Youth Council member, who will this time forum and then field audience questions. Mr. Plant, I turn the proceedings over to you.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, candidates, for coming to join us at this forum, and thank you to Kit Carson Electric Co-op for providing their boardroom to us this evening. Some rules of the road, and by the way, we've got to our right, Celadon Gallegos. In the middle is the incumbent sheriff and candidate Steve Miera, and on the left is Jason Rael. These are all Democrats. We're talking about the June 2nd Democratic primary. And we'll start with 3 minutes, opening statements. After that, we'll go to a question round. You'll have 60 seconds each to answer the same question. The questions will be addressed to all candidates, and you'll have 60 seconds to respond. We'll wrap up with some audience questions. And be thinking of questions, audience, as this forum unfolds. And we'll invite you up around 7:30 to ask questions. So we'll start with the flip of a coin here. Oh, no, we're going to draw lots this time. Good. To decide who goes first.
Just read your number on it, and that's the order.
1, 3, 2.
All right. 1, 3, 2. Got it. That means you're first with opening statements, Mr. Rao. You have 3 minutes.
First, I'd like to thank the Taos News and True Kids 1 for hosting this event. I think it's a great opportunity for the community to get a good, well-rounded view of the candidates. First of all, my name is Jason Rael, and I am a lifelong resident of Taos County. My family has been here for generations, and I'm very rooted in this community. I've chose to live here, work here, raise my kids here, and I'm proud to say that I'm a true Taoseño. I'll also like to tell people that just because you live here, the culture is so great and welcoming to all people, which is unique to anywhere in the state or even out of this state where I've traveled. And I'd just like to say hello. Now you have a face to the name, and I hope tonight that I will earn not just your trust, but your vote as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rael. Mr. Gallegos, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, and thank you all for coming today. It shows the real interest in the people. Thank you, Kit Carson. Thank you, Taos News, for sponsoring this. This is a good idea for community members to meet the candidates. I was born and raised in Ranchos de Taos. My family is lifelong members of Taos. My father and his family also grew up in Ranchos. My mother's from La Loma, so I'm a lifelong resident of Taos. I'm running for sheriff because I believe in Taos County. I believe in the people here, and I want them to believe in me. The people I want to support me are probably the people that aren't supporting me, and that's the people that I want to gain their trust. In getting to know me and getting to know my face and getting to do one-on-ones with me and talking to me and finding out who I really am when we get to know each other one-on-one is why I'm running. I want the community to know that I'm going to be an open sheriff. That communication is what I'm based on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Miera, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sheriff Steve Miera. I'm your current sheriff. I want to take the time to thank everybody for coming out. It's a true testament to your commitment to your community. And as a sheriff, I could only hope I could match that commitment. It really says a lot about our community, about our county. I was born and raised here in Taos, New Mexico, graduated from Taos High, served in the United States Marine Corps. I've been in law enforcement for over 30 years, or going on 30 years, or on my 30th year now, which is a long time, so you tend to forget a year here and there. However, 23 of those years have been continuously with the Taos County Sheriff's Office. I've come up through the ranks from a deputy to a sergeant to lieutenant, served as your undersheriff, and now I serve as your current sheriff. And it's been an honor every step of the way to be able to serve my community, to give back to the community, and just really enjoy working with my community and making it better. Now, the one thing I will tell you is this. I'll walk away from here, but I can't find it in myself to ask you for anything. I could never ask you for your vote or for your support. The only question I should be asking you is what more I can do for you as your sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miera. We'll go to questions now, starting with you, Mr. Rael. Recent data that the Taos News got from the Sheriff's Department showed a 5% rise in overall incidents from 2023 to 2025, even as some property crimes notably declined. And so while total incidents climbed by 5%, property crime and DWIs have plummeted by more than half. What explains this dramatic shift, and how will your approach tackle the surge in battery and aggravated assault cases that's happening at the same time?
Honestly, no one agency can solve all of the crime in Taos County. There's no way. We have to work together. All the agencies together, pool our resources together. We don't have enough cops on the street for the town of Taos, the village of Cuesta, Eagle Nest, Angel Fire, the Enchanted Circle. You could draw on any agency right now, and we're all short-handed, short-staffed. But if we pool our resources together, we can really make an impact on crime in Taos County. And that's from the fentanyl crisis is huge. If we can address that alone, we could lower property crimes, battery, everything else under the sun, because that is a driver of crime in Taos County. 300% increase in overdoses in Taos County. That's the Department of Health statistic. If we can work together and band our resources together, we can make a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Mr. Gallegos, would you like me to repeat the question? It's essentially, how will you tackle this surge in aggravated assault and battery cases?
So, like I said, my platform is based on communication with communities, communicating with agencies. When communication breaks down between agencies, the only people that get hurt are the community members. It hurts me, it hurts the other people, but the only ones that it comes down to is it hurts the communities. Speaking for me as a sheriff's department, as a sheriff, I would want to maximize what is inside the sheriff's department. That's the only thing that I can control. I can control my deputies and my supervisors, maximizing our patrols, maximizing our logical aspect of understanding where these are coming from, how we're going to react to the drug dealers, the drug issues. Most of the problems that are going on now with the assaults and batteries are based on a lot of the alcohol consumption and drug issues. Curbing those issues would be the strong point and something that we have to tackle first.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Miera.
So this is going to be a little bit of an extended answer. I'll try and get it in underneath
60 seconds.
60 seconds. So through my tenure as your sheriff, the sheriff's office has gone through a number of changes. We did shrink in size, but then we've kind of picked it back up again. Currently, we're staffed for 39. I have 38 vacancies right now. I mean, I have 38 staffed. I have one vacancy. As you grow and you become a bigger agency, you shift from being an informational agency to becoming proactive. When you move the pendulum to becoming proactive, you can start making those detrimental impacts against these property crimes. I foresee in the near future, in the next 2-3 years, as the agency grows, those numbers are going to shift and they're going to come back down.
Thank you, Mr. Mieta. Turn it over to Mara.
There we go. This question is about the fentanyl crisis. Taos County experienced a staggering 340% jump in overdose deaths in early 2025. Beyond arrests, what targeted interagency or community-driven initiatives will you launch to bring these numbers down? And we're going to start with Mr. Rael.
This fentanyl crisis affects everybody. It doesn't know economic status. It doesn't know race. It doesn't know culture. It's a disease. It's hard for me not to get choked up because I have 3 family members that have passed away from fentanyl overdoses. And all of them had great opportunities through rehabs, social work, to try and make a difference. It tears apart families. So I can tell you this, I will do whatever it takes, knock on every door that I have to. If it has to be the next governor of the state of New Mexico to send the National Guard here to do whatever it takes to get money so that we know that we can fight this, I will make that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rael. Would you like me to repeat the question? We're going to go to Mr. Mieta.
I believe it's his turn.
We're just going to rearrange the ordering so you guys aren't constantly answering at the same order.
Okay.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine.
No? Okay.
I'm well aware of the situation. A 300% increase tells us one thing. There is a surge in fentanyl presence. The accessibility is just it's so easy to come across. It affects so many people on so many different levels. Currently, right now, with the Sheriff's Office, we've taken a few measures, not only to include highway interdiction, but we've also engaged with a partner with the LEADS program, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. And that program, what we do is we intervene and we get help to these individuals before they get into the criminal justice system. We get them counseling. We seek an alternative to incarceration or to fines. If we can enter at that level and we can start providing those services, then I think we can make a definite impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mieta. We're going to go to Mr. Gallegos. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
So everybody thinks law enforcement is there just to arrest the people and take them to jail, and that's going to make our streets safer. Unfortunately, that doesn't make our streets safer. All it takes away is the people that are using it. What we have to do is what we have to build on is getting the people that are higher than that. The way that we try to do that is we get the people that are using these drugs and talk to them. We have to rehab these people so they, instead of them being problems in the community, they're part of the solutions of the community. They're part of the solutions of law enforcement. We have to get everybody involved, no matter if they're good, if they make mistakes, or if they're well members of the community. We have to listen to everybody's output, everybody's opinion about what happens. Just arresting people isn't working out for us. We need communication with all.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. And we'll start with you for this next question. Does Taos County have a gun violence problem? If elected, what strategies would you use to better address and prevent gun violence in the community and specifically among juveniles?
So gun violence in Taos County, there is a problem with it, but most of the problem is that the community aren't specifically trained for it. They're not comfortable with weapons. When the younger generation starts coming up and they start building and they start understanding weapons and they start getting into certain friendships, different gangs, or anything like that, that's where the violence starts coming about. There's programs right now that the sheriff's department has with it, that they're teaching the kids how to hunt. They're teaching kids how to use the weapons. There's state programs where you can have concealed carry. You go and talk to a law enforcement agency, they're willing to help. But to solve the issue of gun violence, I think we have to make the community more aware and be more responsible with our children in their younger years, and make us responsible for it and accountable for it.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Miera, does Taos County have a gun violence program? And what measures, if elected to another term, would you undertake to address and prevent gun violence, not just in the community, but among juveniles specifically?
So we currently have, what I'm going to do is I'll continue to build on the current programs that we've implemented through my administration. Mr. Gallegos alluded to one of them. It's our partnership with New Mexico Game and Fish, where we have brought the Hunters Education Program here, and I've got several deputies within the Sheriff's Office that are certified instructors for that. And we take that program not only here to Taos, up to Cuesta, up to Penasco, all the remote areas where these children would not have that opportunity. I think addressing this gun violence problem is best addressed through education and awareness. Now, when you get into the whole issues of gun violence, if we have a gun violence problem, that's a pretty ambiguous question, because there's so many aspects to that issue in and of itself. You have mental health, you have drug abuse. There's so many, 60 seconds isn't enough to adequately give a good answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miera. Mr. Rao, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good. Gun violence in Taos County, is there a problem? Absolutely there is. How many victims have been murdered through gun violence? Again, another relative of mine in 9th grade was killed in Cuesta by another juvenile with a gun. Where was the justice? I don't think we got it. Teen violence across the state is huge. I went to Santa Fe and advocated with our representatives there for stronger penalties for gun violence amongst teens. But rehabilitation has to be a component of that as well. We can't just lock them up and throw away the key. That's not going to solve it either. But I'll tell you what, the people that have been affected by gun violence, that's what they're asking for. But I think working together, there's a better way to solve this problem.
Thank you, Mr. Ayel. The next question is about the Gorge Bridge crisis. Suicides and body recoveries at the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge continue to weigh heavily on the sheriff's office. Besides the $8 million that's going to be used to raise the railings, what additional measures are needed? And we're going to start with Mr. Miera.
Thank you, ma'am. So I can speak to this intimately, because I go with my people down to recover these bodies. There's two separate issues here that I've been trying to identify. And of course we have the mental health issue, and we have the bridge being a destination. Unfortunately, both of them get mixed in together, and they're two very separate issues. The mental health issue, I can't address alone. And there's no, that's a community answer. That's where we get together as a community. The destination part of this, I can have a direct effect. And I have made those calls. I have held people's feet to the fire, and I've made that difference. That's why you see the change that's happening right now. That's why those railings are going up. And if you want to discuss this more, please come to my office. And I'm more than happy to talk more in depth on this, because it's more of an hour conversation than it is a 60-second answer. It deserves more of an answer than this. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Mr. Ayel. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No. 18 years I worked with the sheriff's office, and for that entire time, we always had the issue with suicides at the bridge. I'm glad that finally something's being done about it, because I can't tell you, it's a beautiful place. It truly is. It's one of the gems of Taos County. But when you're a first responder and you respond to these, and I'm not just talking people that are experiencing mental health crises where they just pick a permanent solution, not knowing that people care about them. They put the phones at the bridge, which if you saved one, it was a win for the cost. $8 million is a drop in the bucket. I wish there could be more than that to stop this crisis out there. I share the sentiments with everybody else that when somebody's lost, it affects the entire community. And so I will advocate to continue seeking funding to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallegos, would you like me to repeat the question?
Like,
Do we start asking personal questions? Do we?
Yes, sir.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
like Steve and Jason had talked about, the mental health issue it's a really, really big problem, especially coming to the red. But to address the problem, I think the law enforcement agencies have to come together. State police, sheriff's department, and right now, currently I'm with Taos Pueblo. I've also come out of the Pueblo to respond to these calls. So being proactive at the bridge. I believe there's 24-hour guards there now at the bridge. And I believe that it's still closed off to people walking across the bridge. But all the agencies have to be involved, all the agencies have to communicate, and all the agencies have to take their own part of the turn. That area out there is partially owned by Taos Pueblo as well. We need to also be proactive in responding, not reactive to this. And that's how we start to solve this problem. That's how we curb the suicide problems out there. The more law enforcement presence they see out there in the late hours or early hours of the morning, that's how you start to deter the problems. That's how you save the people from not jumping. That's how you get to them before they get to that railing.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. We'll start with you with this next question. This is about Taos Nest. It's the county, essentially, is a local shelter for the unhoused, and it's expanding services and hours to assist more homeless folks and housing insecure individuals and families. Put millions of dollars into this. How could the sheriff's office better support and collaborate with Nest? We'll start with you, Mr. Gallegos, 60 seconds.
So dealing with the homeless people, it's a very touchy issue because the homeless people, unfortunately, through law enforcement, they basically get transferred from Espanola to Santa Fe to Taos. It's a revolving type thing with the homeless people. The only thing that the sheriff's department, being a part of the sheriff's department and being the supervisor, is being present for this. Communicating with the homeless shelters, being present, showing that we're part of their cause. I mean, we're not going to solve the homeless issue, but what we can do is be part of it. We can be part of solving the drug issues inside the facilities, inside the county places. That's how we start developing ways to solve these issues. You can't solve the homeless issue, but what you can do is you can curb the violence and the drug use in them.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Miera, how can the sheriff's office better work with and support Taos Nest?
Through communication. Having that open line of communication, I'll tell you right now, I support the Nest. Currently, right now, they can only house 27 individuals, stretched out, maybe 30. At any given time, there's 180 homeless individuals roaming our streets. And if they can only attend to 30, I'll be conservative, they can only attend to 30. What happens to the other 150? And those are the ones that you find living in the culverts, in the trees, in the fields. I'm glad that they are expanding their services. But the part of this where we got to be really careful as a community is not to make Taos a destination spot. With the advent of the blue bus and the winter seasons being calmer and a lot warmer, we find that there is a huge influx of homeless individuals that find themselves in the Taos area. And I know that at its onset, The nest was intended to, their intent was to provide services for our local homeless individuals. Now it's kind of gotten a little bit beyond that, and I'm glad they're expanding their services, and I support any resources they have that they can offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miata. Mr. Ayal, if elected, what would you have the sheriff's office do differently to better support the nest and homeless individuals, but specifically that organization?
The Nest is a great organization, and I'm glad that they're here. Taos County has really, really good 501c nonprofits to help people. And that's one of the good things about our community. When things get tough, we can come together to find solutions. And the Nest is probably one out of many that the county commission, town of Taos, every entity that pours money into that, we're seeing good results. The unhoused is a hard thing to solve. You could look in Albuquerque down on Central, what BCSO, APD, and the other agencies that are out there trying to solve that problem. BCSO is saying that 90% of them don't want services, don't want help, but it all comes back to mental health. They're not capable of processing or taking the help. They'll get the food, but the addiction also there that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Ayal. I'm going to turn this over to Mara for the question everybody is wondering tonight.
Thank you. We're going to start with you again, Mr. Ayal. This is about your undersheriff. If elected, who will you choose to be your undersheriff? What will your number one priority be when your term begins?
So the undersheriff, that's a great question. Right now, I'm focused on winning this election, and that's where my drive is right now. I do have two people in mind that are good background, have the leadership capabilities to handle sitting in that chair for that office. But for right now, I need to win the election first. And as for first priority, is getting all of our agencies together and getting a drug task force together. So that would be my first priority in the sheriff's office, because this fentanyl crisis, these drug dealers are just running rampant. They don't hide. They're doing it blatantly out in the streets, and strict enforcement has to come from that, and education, and I would say also for the users. I thought I was done. Yeah, so for the users, treatment has to be part of that equation.
Thank you. Mr. Mieta, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please reiterate the question.
Okay. If elected, who will you choose to be your undersheriff, and what will your number one priority be when your term begins?
So, my undersheriff is present. Gabe Ortiz, would you please stand up? Let me introduce you to Undersheriff Gabe Ortiz. Everybody. My priority for the sheriff's office is to continue moving forward, moving upward, continue developing the patrol staff, increasing the numbers beyond 40. At the onset of my administration, my goal was to reach the 40 positions within the sheriff's office. Currently, I'm staffed at 39. With the incoming fiscal year, I'll be at over 40. I want to continue moving forward with equipment, with technology, with the community outreach programs that I have currently in place. Those I don't want to see it go away. The Senior Safe Program, the Hunter's Education, the Special Olympics, the community outreach, the things that tie and marry the sheriff's office to the community, which is the most important thing to me right now. If I can marry the sheriff's office to this community and leave this place better than I found it, then I'll have completed my goals as I set out in my first administration. And I guarantee and I promise you, at the end of my second administration, I will have done that.
Thank you. Mr. Gallegos, would you like me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay.
So currently, I do have a couple individuals in mind, and I haven't talked to them yet, but they are members of the sheriff's department. I feel that the undersheriff should remain part of the sheriff's department, because more than anything, there is enough qualified individuals there. There's enough qualified supervisors in the sheriff's department at this time that would qualify for the sheriff's department or for the undersheriff. The other thing is that an undersheriff, I believe, should be part of the community. And that's would be one of my first choices, to pick a lifelong member of the Sheriff's Department of Taos County to be my undersheriff. The individuals that I'm thinking of do have the same aspiration, the same views that I've had in law enforcement as well, and that's to keep the people of Taos County safe.
Mr. Gallegos. So no names yet except for the current undersheriff. We'll stay tuned on that one. Sheriff Mura, we'll start with you on this one, and you hinted at this earlier. If elected, what bold steps will you take to keep Taos County competitive in pay for deputies, for personnel in the sheriff's office, and benefits, and ensure that the 40-plus officers that you're promising before the end of this term stay local? And that's amid fierce competition from other departments, right, including state police, probably your main competition, I imagine. So what bold steps will you take for hiring and retention, but particularly retention of staff?
So right now, Lieutenant Armillo, who's sitting in the back, I credit him with the excellent recruiting efforts that he's put into the office currently, and that's gotten our numbers up. Of note, with the individuals that we have currently working with the Sheriff's Office, they're rooted here in the community. They're young individuals that are vested in the community, and I want to continue seeking out those individuals. Currently, we are in the middle of a comp study that we are comparing our pay rates with other agencies within the state. Right now, we've kind of fallen behind the curve just a little bit, not by much. We're still competitive, but we'll continue moving forward, and hopefully that pay will increase and become even more competitive. At one point, we were competitive. Our entry level was competitive with Bernalillo County, and I want to continue moving forward with that compensation study.
Mr. Miera, we'll go to you, Mr. Rayal. What bold steps will you take to ensure that the 40-plus deputies that the next sheriff will have, as promised by the current sheriff, stay loyal to the department because you've kept pay competitive?
Pay is a really good one. I was proud to say that I was the vice president during my time there with the Sheriff's Office of the Union. Myself and Lieutenant Rick Romero negotiated with county management and senior management to get increases in pay, to get better clothing allowance, and to get a shift differential that was competitive. So I do know the process. I've gone through it. We put the pencil to the paper and we brought it to negotiations, and we were able to get a good benefit package across to all the employees. And some of those benefits that we asked for weren't just extended to the sheriff's office alone. They were brought across all of Taos County. So it's a collaborative effort. It's tough when the dollars in the budget are stretched thin. I can say that. Sometimes you're only getting a 3%. Other times we've gotten up to $5 over 3 years. So I'm well aware of that. But I also think that with the retention, also the guys winning the race have officer wellness included. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rayal. Mr. Gallegos, what bold steps will you take to ensure that your deputies stay with Taos County?
So in retention, when an officer first looks at a department, they're looking at the pay. They're looking at positions that are available, the chance of moving up in a department, the training, the equipment, what other officers, what other deputies say about the department. Those are all very, very important. Me as a supervisor, as a sheriff of Taos County, I'm going to look for the money to get that. But the main thing that we have to look at first is our department has to have the confidence in first me as the sheriff, and then second of my supervisors being able to lead. If we are the top paid agency in Taos County or in the northern part of New Mexico, but the people that are working for us don't have the confidence in us, they're not going to come work for us. We have to build that confidence. We have to build that camaraderie with them to let them know, yes, we're going to be here and we're going to work through this together and we're going to get through this. But they have to know that the leadership is going to be strong for them and that they're going to get a fighting chance. So just them having the confidence in the leadership is just as important as the pay and training.
Thank you. The next question is about accountability. In light of previous investigations into department personnel, what robust internal affairs safeguards will you put in place to guarantee that any deputy misconduct is reported and addressed with full transparency? We're going to start with you again, Mr. Gallegos.
So when I come into the sheriff's department as your sheriff, I'm going on accountability, on being transparent. If there's an investigation being done on a deputy or an officer, yeah, when questions are asked, an investigation has to be conducted, and once an investigation is conducted, then we release all those, the outcome of it. But the main thing with investigating any part of even a criminal activity is being transparent with that investigation. And that has to do with me as a supervisor, me as the sheriff, the lieutenants, and officers. Everybody is accountable for their actions. There's no way that anybody else is better than above the law or above any civil action that happens, regardless of who you are, all the way from the sheriffs to lieutenants to undersheriffs. We're all accountable for our actions, and we have to take accountability for it.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Mieta, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Currently, we do have an excellent internal affairs program within the sheriff's office. It is very transparent. But the one misconception that's floating around out there is if a deputy does something wrong, why doesn't he get fired right away? Well, it's called due process. And there is a process to every internal affairs investigation. And the misconception is, in an internal affairs investigation, much like a criminal investigation, the purpose is to either to confirm or dispel any wrongdoing. And the thing with employment law, the fact of the matter is if you rush to a conclusion and you presumptuously fire somebody, and then they come back at you with a wrongful termination suit, just because you did something wrong or you took a misstep and you jumped too soon, now you're rewarding aberrant behavior with millions of dollars in that civil lawsuit that comes about from that wrongful termination.
Thank you. Mr. Raya, would you like me to reiterate the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. In light of previous investigations into department personnel, what robust internal affairs safeguards will you put in place to guarantee that any deputy misconduct is reported and addressed with full transparency?
So in the office, you have policy and procedure. That's not just a document that you say, maybe we'll take a look at it. It's just a guideline. No, it's a standard. You follow your policy. And whatever your policy reads, that's how you address those kinds of issues. Now, I myself I'm a internal affairs investigator. I've arrested my own deputies for wrongdoing and charged them criminally. I'm not afraid to do that because just like me, I'm not above the law. The sheriff's not above the law. Nobody is. As far as for transparency, if I will have an outside agency investigate any criminal wrongdoing that's being brought against any deputy of the Taos County Sheriff's Office, whether that's a car crash or criminal misconduct.
Thank you, Mr. Ayal. We'll start with you for this next question. If elected, how will you increase collaboration between the Sheriff's Office and other public safety agencies, local municipalities, and community organizations?
This is a really good one. And I'm excited. You know what? Every year we host in Red River our annual and biannual trainings, and they're open to every officer, every department. Whoever wants to come up and receive that free training to maintain their certifications is welcome to come. I host that. I teach that. Having your mental health persons in crisis, that's what I have a specialty in for instructorship. That's like a unicorn sometimes in the state, so a lot of people come up and take advantage of that training. I started my career as a volunteer fireman in Cuesta, And then from there, I got my EMT license, and I was a licensed EMT for about 18 years. Worked the ambulance. I'm really good with all the fire departments, all the volunteer fire departments. If it weren't for volunteers, where would we be? So working with all the agencies, chiefs, lieutenants, it doesn't matter. My door's open. And I hope to build bridges and not walls when it comes to interagency cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rayal. Mr. Gallegos.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. If elected, what will you do to increase collaboration between the Sheriff's Department, other law enforcement agencies, municipalities in the county, and community organizations?
So as I said since the beginning, my platform is communication. That means communication with each individual community, with the different agencies, with animal control rights activists, with search and rescue, with all the different agencies. As the sheriff, and just like I was talking to Mr. Horacio Trujillo earlier, he said, all these agencies, we have to get along. We have to discuss issues of why you're doing this, why am I doing this, why are we fighting against each other. The only time that anybody loses is the community, is when I think that I'm right and you think that you're right and nothing gets settled. Nobody agrees on it. The only one that hurts on that is the community. We have to come to an understanding. We have to agree. We have to find a middle point to where all of us can get along and figure this out, to find a resolution, to find answers. Not just get mad at each other and say, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, you do what you want to do, and that's it. We have to communicate.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Miera.
So given some of the community outreach programs that I've already spoken on, like LEADS, we already have an excellent working relationship with all of the law enforcement agencies within the county. I see Chief Romero there in the back from Cuesta Police Department. He can attest to the fact that he knows that he can call on us and we're going to be there for him. Same thing with Marshal Rael here, Red River, New Mexico State Police, Taos Police Department. We're there. We have excellent working relationships with every single agency within this county. The only thing that we can do better is to just continue moving forward and have that understanding and convey that information to the public, knowing that they can count on their sheriff's office and their sheriff to be there at every instance. Because regardless, no matter how you slice it, at any critical incident, the ultimate responsibility falls on the county sheriff. And that's why I've taken the steps I've taken to ensure that we have those excellent working relationships within this county.
Thank you, Mr. Miera. And you brought up a good point. I don't think Mr. Rael mentioned this in his opening statement, but it's Marshal Rael, Red River Marshal. Just want to let the listeners and viewing audience know that.
Thank you. What specific actions will you take to build stronger communication and trust with public safety departments within Taos Pueblo and Piqueris Pueblo? And we're going to start with Mr. Miera.
So when dealing with reservations and sovereign nations, what needs to be understood is that there is a sovereignty that they must maintain, and we can only go in as far as they'll allow us. Now, with respect to the Office of Sheriff, what needs to be understood is the fact that everybody within the reservation votes. So there is an inherent obligation to those people. There is an inherent obligation that I have to them. I can extend those services to them, but it's incumbent upon them and their tribal governments to accept those services. Now, that being said, the fact that we have extended those services, we have gone to assist with several incidents there, I think that we do have, or I would love to believe that we have an excellent working relationship with them. Now, if your question alludes to commissioning of those officers, there are legalities that fall within that affect insurance premiums and county insurance premiums. And that's if there is a casino on that reservation, which Taos Pueblo does have a casino.
Thank you. Mr. Rael, would you like me to reiterate?
No, I think that's a good question, because our Native American population is when you're elected to the sheriff, you're the conservator of peace. That's what's in the statute book. and you're supposed to provide safety, public safety, for everybody in the county, whether you're visiting, whether you live here. It's a little tough and dicey when it comes to the sovereign nations. But I can tell you this, I've extended training opportunities, which Taos Tribal Police Department, they always send people to our training, so I have a great working relationship with them. Down in Picoris, the current chief they're starting their police department down there. I've asked him to come to our trainings. They get their trainings to maintain their certification, so I've made an inroad there with them, and I will continue to do that with all agencies. It doesn't matter. We're all in this together. This isn't an I issue. It's a we issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallegos?
So for the last 8 years, I've been a law enforcement officer of Taos Pueblo. During that time, I've held the position of interim chief, sergeant, and patrol officer. I've also seen different situations where we've called for assistance, where majority of the time, state police or the sheriff's department do respond. And there are times also where we get no response, where we have to kind of figure out how to handle this. I'm currently cross-commissioned through the state police office to handle non-tribal members on tribal land. The thing is that you can say you're going to come help, and you could say in front of all these people that you help every single time, but being there firsthand and you see it, that's not exactly how it happens. And I understand that the current sheriff's his situation about having his hands tied and only getting allowed certain points. But the thing is that we have to think about is, yes, money's an issue, cross-commission's an issue, but look at Espanola, what they just came upon. They cross-commissioned, or they came to some type of agreement with the tribal agencies over there, and there's 3 or 4 different pueblos over there with casinos that they found a resolvement there. That's what I would work on. That would be one of my priorities, going to Espanola and finding out how they got it resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. This next question is about technology. If elected, how will you balance privacy concerns with the benefits of new AI law enforcement tools like facial recognition software, license plate readers? I don't know if the sheriff's office ever requests geofence warrants, that sort of thing. We'll start with you, Mr. Ryle.
We have to embrace technology when it comes to crime fighting. It is an awesome tool. But you have to have the safeguards to protect people's rights just as well, their civil rights, not to violate those. When I first started with Red River, we got our flock safety cameras there, and they're a good tool, but they're just that, a tool. I do have policy and procedure that have guidelines for my officers. There better be a case number. You can't just look up somebody's plate or somebody's car just because they're passing through town. You have to have a valid reason, much like NCIC. And that's how you control those things. New Mexico passed a law for flock safety. You can't use flock safety for immigration enforcement at all. And so you abide by those. And as long as you can stay within the guardrails, you ought to be fine. It's when they go outside of those boundaries, that's where you get in trouble. And so having proper procedures and training on how it's supposed to be used, when it's supposed to be used, and why it's supposed to be used for your team, that's how you embrace technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryle. We'll move to you next, Mr. Miata. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, sir. So with the advent of technology and the way it progresses at such a fast rate currently, it is an excellent tool. We use it currently within the sheriff's office, currently for our radio communications. We're looking into LPRs, county-wide license plate readers, but before moving or taking that step, we're doing our research. We're finding out the flaws that are within the flock system. There's currently several lawsuits throughout the state against agencies that are using the flock system. And those are the safeguards that I want to make sure that are in place. I don't want to expose the county or the community to those kinds of issues. Currently, we're looking at Plate Ranger, and the thing is no system is perfect. But the thing is having those policies and procedures in place, the adequate training, those safeguards, I believe, would mitigate those issues that several agencies currently are facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miata. Mr. Gallegos, what would you do to balance the benefits of new AI law enforcement tools with public privacy concerns?
So the new tools, the new components, the new AI things that are coming out, I mean, yeah, they do help law enforcement, and it's a very, very good tool to have as law enforcement, but it has to start with the officer and the confidentiality that they have signed up for. They're the ones that have to take the accountability on what they do for their actions. The tools, they could put the tools in your hand, but if you're not using it correctly, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt your agency. Making sure that that they have that confidence in the equipment, and you have that confidence in their confidentiality in maintaining, not discussing what they're doing at home or who they ran or what they saw. That's the main thing that we have to look at, is that nothing is going to be perfect, but making sure that they're accountable for their actions. The tools are just going to curb the way law enforcement works, which is a vital, vital tool in law enforcement to curb cutting down the crime level. But we have to be able to train our people properly to use them and keep that confidential.
Thank you. The next question. People living in Costilla, Ojo Caliente, and Peñasco often feel overlooked by law enforcement. How will you harness new technology to bring real safety improvements to these far-flung communities? And we're going to start with you, Mr. Gallegos.
So currently, like I said, I work with Taos Pueblo, and I'm on the graveyard shift. Graveyard is from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I do have the channels that the Sheriff's Department uses. I do have the channels that state police have. The thing about going to these communities out there is most of the time the Sheriff's Department and the state police are getting their butts kicked. It's hard to be a proactive agency if you're getting your butts kicked. You can have cameras out there, but cameras only do so much. You need people out there. And to be proactive, and that's the key word, is being proactive for these areas. You have to get more manpower, not technology. Technology can only help so much, but it takes who to run technology? People. You need people, you need more people, you need more boots on the ground, you need more people patrolling these areas and being a proactive, not a reactive agency.
Thank you. Mr. Miera?
So this is not a technology issue, this is a manpower issue. Taos County is 2,200 square miles, and at any given time, there's about 55,000 people in this county. That's inclusive of citizens, visitors, non-documented individuals. Given the Department of Justice standard of 2 officers per 1,000, 55,000 times 2, that's 110 officers that this county requires to adequately cover. Now, the issues on these outlying communities has been a historic issue, being able to get out there. But the reality of it is the majority of our calls for service originate within Taos proper. Now, my goal and the whole number behind the number 40 is we have 4 shifts, 5 commissioner districts. Now, if I can devote at least 2 deputies per shift per commissioner's district, that equals 40 patrol deputies. If I can get to that magic number, that will allow me enough deputies on the ground adequately to be able to cover these outlying areas. And that's what we can economically sustain. I know we can't sustain the 110, but 40 is fair and is reasonable. And I intend to leave with more than that in place.
Thank you. Mr. Raya, would you like me to restate the question?
Yes.
Okay. People living in Costilla, Ojo Caliente, and Peñasco often feel overlooked by law enforcement. How will you harness new technology to bring real safety improvements to these far-flung communities?
I've been knocking on doors in every corner of this county, and I hear that from the residents that live in the outlying communities. They want more patrols. And how are we going to fix that? And how are we going to employ technology? We have technology, folks. There's technology that'll tell you your call volume by date, time, and hour, 7 days a week. And how are you scheduling your personnel? Is it a scheduling issue? Do we need five deputies on duty between the hours of 3 and 7 o'clock in the morning? The statistics say no. How do we shift our manpower working with scheduling so that we have more manpower when it's a higher call volume, you have more boots on the ground and people on the streets that can address the issues in the outlying communities. But the honest to God truth, 2,200 square miles, it's tough. It's tough, but it's a challenge I'm willing to take on to provide public safety to this county.
Thank you, Mr. Al. We'll start with you, Mr. Gallegos, for this next question. The subject is animal control. During the Stray Hearts Animal Shelter contract troubles several years ago, deputies were certified as animal control officers. Do you believe this is a wise use of taxpayers' money and the department's resources? And how will you collaborate with Stray Hearts, Safe Pet Partners, Spay Taos, and other such organizations?
So, as a Taos County Sheriff, as a law enforcement officer, we're trained to help the people, to serve the people, to enforce the laws, but to enforce the rights of the people. Animals have rights as well. I believe having the deputies certified in animal control is very, very helpful. It minimizes the 1 or 2 officers that are supposed to be just dedicated to the animal control issue. It helps out these other issues get resolved as well. They know the training that they have the training. They know the laws better than a regular deputy, and it helps that agency grow stronger. It helps the sheriff's department being more community oriented because of enforcing the animal control issues. Communications with these agencies and not fighting with them when we don't agree on certain issues, that only hurts the cause. The cause is to solve the problems of wild animals, to solve the problem with the animal controls, that the animal control in the middle of the night. And that's the main thing that we have to look forward to. That's the thing as a sheriff's department we have to be properly trained in. Communication with these agencies, that's vital.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. We'll go to you, Mr. Al. Do you believe that it's a wise use of taxpayer money and department resources to have deputies certified as animal control officers? And how would you work with Stray Hearts, Spay Taos, Safe Pet Partners, organizations like that on animal control issues?
That's a tough one. When you have proper training in animal control, which every officer probably should have, it's a force multiplier. It definitely is. You're up to date with modern practices, and you're able to affect what you're doing because you have the training and the knowledge behind it. Currently, there's no contract with Stray Hearts now. There isn't a place that I'm aware of that you can take an animal that you took into custody, for lack of a better word. There isn't a place where they can get the veterinary services. There's not those contracts in place. So what do you do without that? You rely on all the animal rescues around the entire county. There's plenty. They're overwhelmed. But I tell you this, as sheriff, I will do what I can to find funding for them, to try and work out a good RFP that's manageable for Stray Hearts and Spay Taos, because you know what? You can look on the flyer that I got. I've got 2 pit bulls. They're my family too. And everybody's pets are just like their families. One I just rescued probably in January. She's doing great. I mean, I love my puppies. Everybody else does too. But I'll put together a task force with the heads of all the nonprofits so that we could sit down and come up with a solution rather than just pointing fingers and blame, or, a lot of collaboration and not collaboration.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it at that. Your time is up. Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Yeah, it's an issue.
Mr. Mira?
So I'm going to start off real quick by correcting Marshal Rael. I do have contracts in place with Spade House. And as a matter of fact, where I'm at with that is we're looking to increase those contracts this next fiscal year. So county residents have free access to spay and neuter services. Now, as to talking about animal sheltering, I'm going to shy away from that because there's a current RFP in process, and I don't want to violate any or take a chance of violating that RFP or the procurement of that. Now, as to the sheriff's office, I have made it a lot more efficient with regards to animal control. The fact of the matter is animal control is not a career path that very many people choose, and it's extremely hard to fill those positions, especially since those positions are lesser paid. Now, due to the fact, what I did was I folded in the sheriff's animal control program, and I folded it into the regular patrol. And by training all of the deputies in the animal control and certifying them in animal control, now you have 30 deputies that attend to the animal control calls instead of 3. And the animal control calls, instead of just taking them during business hours by the week, now they're attended to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'll go ahead and respect your...
Thank you. For the next question, many in the community worry that young people lack positive guidance to steer them away from substance use and other criminal activity. Would you consider shifting funds to support a school resource officer or launch a dedicated youth outreach initiative? And we're going to start with you, Mr. Mireya.
So we've already begun, through my administration, school outreach programs in the Peñasco area and the Cuesta area. Cuesta is in progress. Peñasco has been received really well. We've done several events with the schools where, again, this goes to marrying the sheriff's office with the communities. And we believe, again, through the Hunters Education programs, that's where we introduce them to the deputies. And I believe that these programs have become extremely productive, and they're extremely successful. Now, as to shifting funds to SROs, we have the Peñasco schools, we have several schools that are outlying in the county. And right now, at the point where we're trying to get boots on the ground on the patrol shifts, patrol is pretty much my priority, but that does not mean we ignore the schools. During the school hours, we do encourage the deputies to attend the schools, to go have lunch with the kids, to have those interactions, those important interactions, especially with the young ones. So as we continue moving forward, as our numbers continue to increase, those programs we're going to develop, and we will implement those programs so that they are effective and they have that positive impact on our youth, because the youth, that's our future. That's what determines where we go from here.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Mr. Rael. Would you like me to restate the question?
No. This is a point for me that is very personal. Just like, I'll tell you what, I didn't like what was going on with the school district in Cuesta. Rather than complain about it, I put my name in, and I got elected to the school board, and I just got elected to a second term. So I'm really familiar with how the schools operate. I will do everything I can to help all the schools in the district, not just the independent school districts, but charters as well, because they count. There's still roots and wings up there in the north, and they're all part of the community that you're sworn to protect. So have your officers, not just at the school zones, but attending their games, attending, having lunch with them. At the heart of it, it's community policing. And that's something that doesn't cost a dime to the taxpayer. All it costs is maybe 10 minutes out of somebody's day to stop and say hello. And that's how we'll do it.
Thank you. Mr. Gallegos?
So, like the sheriff talked about earlier, getting 40 deputies on the ground just for patrol. I totally agree with that. But I totally agree on getting 5 resource officers as well. Getting one for the Cuesta area, getting one for the Peñasco area, getting one for the Taos Municipal School area. I mean, I know that there's one currently for the city, but how many different schools are there? The other thing too is that having a resource officer at a school in Costilla, having a resource officer at a school in Cuesta, if there's a major crime going on or something and all the officers are tied up, A school resource officer is a certified law enforcement officer that can respond and handle calls. So there's more people, there's more collaboration, there's more of law enforcement that can help. Currently with Taos Pueblo, it's not just asked to go visit the schools. We're required to go make visits with the schools. We're required to go walk through to the schools. Make that a requirement. Make that part of their daily needs, even if we don't have a resource. Make that something that's a priority, not just if you get a chance. Make it a priority.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. We're going to move towards audience questions now. If you've got a question to ask candidates, make your way over to Sandy Campbell over there. And meanwhile, I'm going to ask a question from the chat from some live stream viewers. This is a question from Alro11. How high is your priority to work with the state and feds to find Melissa Casillas, who may be tied into disappearing scientists? We're all eager to hear your theories on that. What can you do to protect Taos County workers at the labs? It's a two-part question, I guess. We'll start with you, Mr. Mira.
So currently, the Melissa Casillas case is a New Mexico State Police case. And unless they reach out for help, I tend to allow them to conduct their own investigations. I'm more than willing to extend any resources that we may have upon their request. However, I'm not going to inject the sheriff's office into another agency's investigation, because what will happen is that'll compromise the integrity of that investigation. If asked or called upon, we will be there, we will help.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gallegos.
So as far as Melissa Casillas, I went to school with Melissa. I know her. She was a really good person. And I understand that the investigation is being conducted by state police. But if reached out by family members to go out and search for a possible area that hasn't been searched or a suspected area, if they ask for assistance from the sheriff's department, regardless, I'm gonna give the family that rights. If we tell the family no, that you have to ask state police first for this, we're just victimizing the victim again. They want help. They want to say, hey, can you go out here to this certain area and help us? Can you get a few of your deputies to go out there? Doesn't mean you're affecting or you're doing anything to disturb the integrity of the investigation. Because as law enforcement, if we see something that's part of that looks like it's part of the investigation, we're not going to touch it. We're going to call that agency to come and handle it. But just going simply into an area and helping out or being there for the family, that's what we as law enforcement officers have to be there for.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Rael, the question from Alro11, one of the live stream viewers tonight. How high is your priority to work with the state and feds to find Melissa Casillas, who may be tied into disappearing scientists? What can you do to protect Taos County workers at the labs?
Once again, this is a New Mexico State Police investigation. That is true. But I'll tell you this. My heart goes out to her family, to her friends, to her loved ones, and I hope that soon that she can come home. As a sheriff, I would work with New Mexico State Police, any federal agency, if they drawn upon the resources that we have available, whether that's a drone, whether that's boots on the ground, whatever I could do to help, I would definitely make that a priority to help their family. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Ayal. We'll go to audience questions now. Who do we have up here? Somebody give this woman a microphone.
Okay, thanks. Hi, my name's Caroline Yeazer, and question for all candidates. I haven't heard, and I'm kind of shocked that I haven't heard anything brought up about domestic violence or women's issues. I would like to ask the audience really quickly, how many of you would call the sheriff's office right now if you were experiencing domestic violence? Yeah, you know why? Deputy Isaiah Martinez was recently arrested for domestic violence after being protected by the sheriff's department. Women in Taos County who live outside town know that that domestic violence, stalking, and sexual assault we are told to never call the sheriff's department. That's 50% of the county. I've not heard a question about this.
Can you make
What-
this more of a domestic violence than a specific question and then go to the
Is it okay if you give women the mic for a sec?
There's two sitting right next to me.
Okay, I won't ask my question if you don't want me. I do have a question. I've actually written. Can I have the mic? Thank you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. One of the biggest problems, though, for domestic violence, it's not really a women thing, it's the corruption in the office. So right now, what we have in the sheriff's department are uncertified people like Mike Hawley, and there's another guy.
Sorry, that's the question. It has to be posed to all three candidates. It's a candidate forum.
Yeah, I am. I'm asking all three candidates. Can I finish?
You're not asking a question. We can't argue about this. Let's move on.
Okay, I'm sorry. What will you do about two things? Uncertified officers who for years have been allowed illegally to pull over people like me and other women, like my colleague, who have not gotten training. This is corruption. New Mexico state law says that they need to get training within a year after being deputized. There are two officers that have not been trained yet. I would like to know what you guys would do to stop this. Are you going to continue to let these officers pull people over, not wear body cams, not wear uniforms, despite that they haven't been certified? And number two, I'd like to know what you would do about people who have outstanding investigations, like Mike Judgy, I think his name is.
Okay.
Wow, okay. What would you guys do about those two things? Should you be elected?
Let's go with the sheriff first, since I think he's probably has the most burden to respond to whatever you would care to respond to.
I'll be honest with you, ma'am, Ms. Yeazer.
Whatever you like, Sheriff.
Well, I just want to be respectful of your name. So that being said, your question is rather ambiguous. You speak of corruption, but you give no specific example.
I tried to, but I was.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to address your certification question, and I'll bring you up to speed as to the ignorance. So within the authority of the sheriffs, I have the ability to commission, and I have the ability to issue a special commission. So that special commission does not require certification through the state of New Mexico, but that does allow the deputies to act under the color of the sheriff's office in the event that they are called upon to do so. And so given the situation, given the staffing and manpower, that's how I justify that. As to one of the deputies who I think you're alluding to, that deputy works in the courts. And I'm allowed to have a court security officer, and he works under that special commission in the courts. So can you continue on with your question?
Yes, I'd love to.
Your question.
Okay, we're going to have to move on here because we're
Well,
not
thank
having
you,
a
'cause
back
it
and
was
forth. But I will rephrase Ms. Yazer's question and ask, what will you do if elected? What will you do if elected to ensure that your constituents feel comfortable calling the sheriff's office when there's a threat of domestic violence or a domestic violence event happening to them? And
So,
Sheriff, 30 seconds.
So 30 seconds is nowhere near enough, but to allude to the statements that Ms. Yeager spoke of with a former deputy, as to the charges of being charged with domestic violence, he wasn't charged with domestic violence. It was a totally different charge. Ma'am, if you do your research, if you want to bring these accusations, make sure you do your research first. So I don't recall any charges of domestic violence being involved in that case. It's on court record, ma'am. So that being said, beyond that, I think that anybody should be able to call the sheriff's office and get the response that they deserve, and they do, because if not, they are held accountable. There is a level of accountability within the office that if a deputy does not do their job, does not bring forward the charges that are levied or that are warranted, they will have to answer for that. Furthermore, everything is transparent. You want records, everything is available. All you have to do is come to the office, ask for any specific records that I can provide for you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
You're more than welcome.
Mr. Al, what will you do to ensure that your constituents, if you're elected, are comfortable calling the sheriff's office for help in a domestic violence situation?
Domestic violence is terrible. It's a really bad thing for a woman to have to go through. It truly is, and then to be victimized again is even worse. I'll tell you, working with CAV and taking the training, I've got to do another training up in Red River with them to learn what they have to offer, and the training that they give you is helpful, not just for that, but it also helpful when it comes to child abuse cases, because the safe room is there. So working with them and having that knowledge and background, we're supposed to be doing domestic violence training every year. Oftentimes it's the same training we had the last 4 years in a row. So that don't really cut it when it comes to that. But you know what? What it comes down to is me, my face, coming out, meeting you, and you having your trust in me as a leader. And that's what brings the trust to the community, to the department.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Mr. Gallegos, what will you do to ensure that constituents feel comfortable calling a sheriff's office in domestic violence incidents?
So one person is one person too much saying that they can't call the sheriff's department. She said that 50% of the people are saying that they can't call the sheriff's department. One person is way too much. The thing is with law enforcement is we have to be accountable for our actions. If there's somebody that is accused of a crime, of doing something, regardless if it's a deputy or not, he has to fit into the investigation. He has to be put through the thorough investigation. If being another deputy or supervisor with the sheriff's department isn't conducting a thorough investigation and not thoroughly looking into it, just trying to protect the deputy or the officer, then that supervisor, that investigator is going to be accountable for it. As far as the special commissions, if a special commission officer is working outside of the authority that I have given him, I will address that. As far as if he's supposed to be purely for investigations and he's doing traffic stops and he's not properly trained for that, that will be addressed. Because the special commissions happen for a reason, because you need the people and they have a certain background. But if they're going outside of their scope, that falls on the supervisor and that falls on my commission. So I would be accountable for that, and it would be my job to take control of that situation.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Just for everyone's background information, a deputy was arrested. It was a call, not a domestic. It was a domestic violence call. He was not arrested on domestic violence charges. He was arresting, I believe, on resisting arrest charges. And in fact, I believe the word is detained, not arrested, if I'm not mistaken. And our public safety reporter, Olivia Lewis, is working on a story about this as we speak. I'll turn it back over to the audience. Please state your name and address the question to all candidates equally.
Good afternoon. My name is Santiago Aragon. To Ms. Yeezer, thank you for calling me an asshat. Really professional. Whatever. Yes, ma'am. To you future sheriffs, I would like to ask you guys, when was the last time you guys responded to a suicide call towards, more specifically, the Gorge Bridge?
Would you like to elaborate on that?
More specifically, is when was the last time Mr. Gallegos did mention that he had responded to the Gorge Bridge? It was more specifically, when was the last time you guys responded to a Gorge Bridge call? And I just want the community to know.
All right, Mr. Rael.
Well, I would say I left, I believe I started in 2023 in December with the marshal's office, so it would have been in 22, the last one. But I can tell you this from a first responder perspective, one time is enough that you'll never forget it. And if you've been there multiple times, it never leaves you. plain and simple. It's a tragedy for everybody involved, for the victim, for their families, for the first responders that go down there. It's, I hate that bridge, honestly, from one heart to another, because of that. Because it takes people away from their families. When you have a kid that's playing baseball, it takes Christmas. It doesn't matter. Whenever it happens, you have to respond out there. None of that ever leaves you. But thank you for that question, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Mr. Miata.
The last time I responded was Easter Sunday of this year. I've been there too many times. I've been to the bottom too many times. But I continue to go, and I'll continue to go to help bring closure to those families. I go down to ensure that those families that are left behind, those friends, those loved ones that are left behind, have the answers, or as close to the answers as possible. And a lot of people don't understand, but just bringing that individual bringing that individual back brings closure to these people. And I stay committed to that. And I will continue to go down.
Mr. Miata. Mr. Gallegos.
Okay, so forgive me for not knowing the correct time, but I want to say the last time I responded to anything that happened there at the Gorge Bridge, it was within a year and a half. The call came out, I was working at Taos Pueblo. It was, I want to say 10, 11 o'clock at night. The call came out saying there was a suicidal female that was going out to the Gorge Bridge. They gave a description of the vehicle. So I happened to be in the Prado area. So I went over there. The deputies, I can't remember, they might have been at their office, or I'm not sure where they were. But I got there first. Right as I got to the bridge, I saw a car stop as it entered, and then it seemed getting closer, and it continued to the opposite side. When the car passed to the opposite side of the road, the female got out of her car, and she started running towards the bridge. I stopped my vehicle, and I caught her right before she jumped off the bridge. That was my last time I responded. The time before that was probably maybe a couple months before that. Again, deputies were either busy or not in the area, and I stopped a female that had just gotten into a fight with her boyfriend prior to getting to the bridge, and we conducted a traffic stop. Both females were transported to Holy Cross for mental evaluation. So within the last year and a half, I'd say I've responded twice to the Gorge Bridge.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. All three candidates have unfortunate experience dealing with the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge. We'll go back to an audience question. I believe this is our last question. Then we'll go to opening statements. Remember to state your name and address your question equally to all candidates.
Gabriel Medina. I was a cop for 25 years. Domestic violence is a bitch. Being a cop is a bitch, too. I don't know how you guys want to be a sheriff. It's tough. I was on duty when my daughter was murdered. There is no protection. And I congratulate you three for coming up and taking that job. But the thing is, you need public help. You know, the public should be there giving you information and supporting you. It's crazy being a regular civilian. I hear all these people in the back here, oh yeah, he's good. And then when something wrong happens, oh the hell, you know, they bitch and cry and they sit on their ass. But the thing is, you guys have to help these guys. If you don't, it's a shit. Because they depend on your information.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to closing statements. We gotta wrap this up. We, make sure it's addressed to all candidates, Pablo.
That road is very straight. Just let it go. That road is very straight. there's been a lot of shootings, and okay, I have already killed 3 of my blue heelers, and 2 cat. And now the thing is that the sheriff is not patrolling that road. He has never patrolled that road, nor his deputies, and they have already killed 3 of my blue heelers and 2 cats. Now those blue heelers, to me, they're worth about $3,000. That's about about $90,000 for issue. Now the thing is that, and there's some cats too. Now, I want to ask Mr. Miera there, how come you're not patrolling that road? I have never seen you patrol that road.
I'm going to rephrase that so all the candidates can answer that question. If elected or re-elected, will the Taos County Sheriff's Office patrol which one is it?
Camino Bajo de la Loma.
Camino Bajo de la Loma.
By the St. Francis School.
That's in Ranchos.
So if you don't mind, I'll take this one first.
You can go first, Mr. Miata.
Since it was addressed to me, Mr. Gonzalez, you were in my office last summer thanking me for slowing down traffic out there. You were thanking me for having the deputies out there. So I'm not sure the basis of your question or the basis of your statement saying that we're not out there. When last summer you came to my office and you specifically, you came and you spoke to me specifically saying, thank you for having the deputies there. So I'm not sure where this is coming from. But I'll go ahead and defer it to, I'll go ahead and defer and pass it on.
Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Gallegos. Will you ensure that Taos County deputies, if you are elected, patrol and are responsible for the safety in every part of Taos County, including Camino Bajo de la Loma?
So,
Pablo.
So Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Gonzalez, let me answer you the question the way that if I'm elected, this is what I would do for you. I'm willing to listen to you, and what I'm willing to do is, regardless of the answers I get from you or the good or the bad, you could come visit me every time, and we can try to figure it out. But the thing is that you got to realize is that there's times where officers are tied up. There's times where they can't get there when you call. But the thing is that having communication and having a level head when we talk about it. I understand that you're upset because you lost your animals. I understand that because we all have animals that we've lost, and they're like family members. And as a sheriff, we have to understand that as well.
I think it only takes one person to start giving tickets every day, and everybody's going to come down.
And that's the thing, is we have to communicate when the problem times are, and talk about it in a level-headed area, when you're not so upset. And when I get in as a sheriff's department, I'll be willing to talk to you. I'll be willing to meet with you once a week and discuss these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Pablo, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Al, do you have a comment to make?
3 o'clock in the morning, where we can speak in peace and where everybody understands and listens to us.
The floor is yours, Mr. Al.
Yes, that's speeding's problematic across Taos County, even in Peñasco with the folks that I visit with out there. And like I said earlier, when you're looking at your scheduling, you have the technology, you have the knowledge that tells you when your peak call volumes are and when it's least, when you can send more proactive patrols out to those outlying communities, to the smaller little callejons that are around here, around Taos, and hope that you can keep the people happy. It's not an easy thing. Like I said, being a sheriff isn't the most grandest thing in the world, because you got to take the good with the bad. But I can tell you this, it's not an easy job, sir, to be out there patrolling. But if you're open to communication and you listen to the people that you serve, you're going to have a lot easier job doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Let's move on to closing statements here in the Kit Carson Electric Co-op boardroom, which I think technically wants out at 8 o'clock. We'll keep them brief. 2 minutes. Closing statements. Let's start with the incumbent sheriff, Mr. Miera. 2 minutes for a closing statement.
So I'll be quick. You have a credible, professional law enforcement agency in the sheriff's office. You have deputies that are vested here in the community. And I've established that through the last 3.5 years of my administration. My intention is, as I've voiced before, and I'm very adamant about this, is to marry the sheriff's office with the community. And we've done so through the various community programs that we've instilled in the last 3.5 years. Our partnerships with the various communities programs, such as LEADS, Community Against Violence. I want to make sure that we continue moving forward and having a community that's vested in the sheriff's office and a sheriff's office that's vested in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miera. Next we'll go to you, Mr. Gallegos. 2 minutes, closing statement.
So we've talked about Gorge Bridge, we've talked about gun control, we've talked about domestic violence, we've talked about accountability. All of that falls on the sheriff. All of the training, all my deputies, all the supervisors, that falls on law enforcement, that falls on the sheriff. Accountability, being transparent. Just like I just told Mr. Gonzalez, I'll be willing to meet with him once a week, whether or not I'm going to like his answers or not, whether or not I'm willing to hear it. That's what I got to do as a sheriff. I got to listen to the problems of the community. I got to go out to the communities. I got to find out what their individual problems are. As a sheriff, that's what I got to do. We have to address the problems. We have to maximize our resources internally with the sheriff's department first, and then maximize our resources with all other agencies and learn to get along and learn to come to a standing point together, working things out. My name is Celedon Gallegos. I'm asking for your support to become your next sheriff. I am willing to communicate with you all to come together and make a better community get together. Getting groups together, whether it's on a professional place or the common people to meet, getting groups together and making it all one place and finding and getting resolution on problems. Celedon Gallegos for sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. Mr. Al, 2 minutes for a closing statement.
First, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, everybody watching online. It really shows that you care about your community and who your next elected official is going to be. You all have the chance to make a difference, to affect positive change, and I hope to bring that change to this county. I'm vested here. My children go to school here. I've built a career here in Taos County, and to me that means a lot. Whether I'm serving in Red River right now, it's a great and awesome community. That community sees over 400,000 visitors a year annually. And we get that done patrolling with 4 deputies, myself included there. So I know what true community policing looks like, having left the sheriff's office and seen a different view of law enforcement and how working together actually accomplishes goals and gets things done. And I'll say this, I'm not here for the title. This is not I done this, I done that, because the reality is one individual doesn't do it all. It's a team. It's a team that you surround yourself with. It's your brothers and sisters in law enforcement. They work hard out there. My hat goes off to every law enforcement officer, to every deputy that works in the Taos County Sheriff's Office. I know because I was there. I know the hours, the hard things you see and the things that you deal with. But this isn't about me. This is about us. It's about we and coming together as a community. And I'm not afraid to ask for help. You know what? We need help sometimes. I can tell you what my capabilities are and when they're not, and you have to recognize that. It isn't an ego thing either. So I'm going to ask for your support. I'm going to ask for your help. I'm going to ask for your trust. And I, Jason P. Rael for Taos County Sheriff, ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al. And before we wrap up, Mr. Al, do you have a website or a way that people can find out more about your campaign, contact you?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook at Jason P. Rael for Taos County Sheriff. I've got some material there. That's about pretty. Oh, also on Instagram. I'm not really the tech guru, but yeah, we have an Instagram as well. But more often than not, you'll meet me face to face when I come knocking at your door.
Okay, and Sheriff Mira, how can folks find out more about your campaign or get in touch with you?
Through Mira for Sheriff at gmail.com. And more importantly, just come into the sheriff's office and have a word with me. Come and find out firsthand. See what your sheriff's office is all about. See what your sheriff is about. More oftentimes than not, people get lost in what they don't know. But the simple answer is just come and talk to me. Come and see what your sheriff's, because that's your office. I only hold it in trust.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mira. And Zeldon, how do folks get a hold of you?
I don't have email for sheriff, but my email is celedong@yahoo.com. You're free to write down any questions that you have for me, or I am on Facebook under Celedon Gallegos. If you want my phone number, it's 575-741-5180. I'm more of a people person. I'd rather talk to you in person than discuss it over the internet or discuss it over anything. If you want to meet with me, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and discuss questions or issues that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos, and thank all of you for your thoughtful answers and participating in this forum, which we did with True Kids Wantin', because the Taos News is very excited about getting these youth involved in elections and learning how campaigning works. And it's a great experience for both of us. I'm Jeffrey Plant with the Taos News.
I'm Mara Campbell with True Kids 1.
And I'm Aaliyah Hurtado, as well with True Kids 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much.